Hi.
Hello.
Welcome. Nice to see. I think Stormy's on his way home from work. Nice to see official NPC and Lemony Soda Comics in our chat. We're CaperSmiths, and welcome to our debut stream. This is a character creation clinic where we will be ably guided through a character creation process by our amazing DM, Jacob. We are three chaps who are drawing to the end of a 2-year homebrew campaign, which has been wonderful. And if you tune into a stream in a few weeks' time, we'll let you know whether we survived or not. The outlook is bleak. And today we're going to put some characters together for a forthcoming campaign. We're going to play a slightly modified version of Curse of Strahd, and we're very excited. So often character creation is a thing that happens behind closed doors, and so we figured that why not open the doors and let you guys see our process and get involved. So let us know in the chat if you think we're making terrible decisions, and also play along at home. You may come up with a character. So I'll hand over to DM extraordinaire Jacob to guide Fergus, that guy, and myself through the process.
Awesome. Before we get in, I just wanted to, and this is something that I think we would usually do, introduce a little element of gameplay. So if anyone did want to follow along, there's going to be situations where questions are going to be given to either Chris or Fergus. And if you want to pick and choose what you want to do, 100% do that on your own accord. If you want an easy way to know whether you are Team Chris or Team Fergus, if the number of letters in your name is odd, you're Team Chris. If the number of letters in your name is even, you're Team Fergus. So you can follow along on either Team Fergus or Team Chris as we go through these. And the first round of our game that we're going to start off with is going to be a little bit of a fantasy draft to start with. So we're going to be looking at hopefully a little bit of popular media that people may or may not know. We've got the Avengers, we've got Game of Thrones, we've got Harry Potter, and we've got Lord of the Rings. Now, from this, two characters that we're going to be talking a little bit about, or at least I'm going to throw out both to you guys at home and to Chris and Fergus, is going to be a hierarchical ordering system. But the game that we're going to be playing is a game that I've just coined Speed 20. So what's going to happen is Chris and Fergus are going to have D20s, and when I say go, I'm going to reveal the roster. They are going to roll the dice. They call out the result. Now, if they get a 20, they get to pick a character. They get to pick one drafted onto their roster. Once it's picked, you can't choose it again. If you get a 1, you automatically gift a choice to your opponent. And we're going to keep going until all of the characters are done, or we then just go, okay, cool, now you're going to take turns choosing. Whatever one reaches first. So what I'm about to do is I'm going to pull up the roster, but before I do that, I just want to make sure, have you guys got your 20s ready and rolling?
We do.
Yes, sir.
I'd also, before we begin, like to point out that by your ruling, it means that Jacob, the DM, is actually on Team Chris. Just so that we're all clear about that.
Team Chris, Team Chris, yeah. Team Chris. So,
as it usually is.
I need to be impartial.
Also, there are official NPC, I imagine, can probably help us, but if someone in the chat would just like to give us a 1 to 10 scale of how the audio and all of that stuff is, just let us know. I can't promise to do anything to remedy it, but it would be nice to know nonetheless.
We'll eventually be able to get back and fix it, in a week's time when we remember to.
Everyone sounds fantastic so far. There we go.
Amazing.
Let's do this.
Okay. So we're going to start Speed 20. You guys, I believe, have boxes. You are drafting 4 characters.
Cool.
And our lineup is, and it's going to come up on the screen shortly, we have Hawkeye, Bruce Banner, Sir Davos, Tyrion Lannister, Gimli, Gandalf, Luna Lovegood, and Neville. roll away, guys.
Who,
Start
Ferg,
rolling.
before we roll, who do you want
Yep.
out of that lineup? Who are you?
Out of this lineup, I am desperate, actually, for Sir Davos and Bruce Banner.
I want Tyrion. Of
course you want Tyrion.
I want Luna Love good. there. Everyone watching just got a real insight into our particular tastes.
Yeah.
Give me wacky. Okay, are we good to go? We're both rolling at the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's as many rolls as you can do. There is no limit. You just roll, call out a number, and roll again, call out a number. And you just keep getting 20s,
Okay.
you keep picking.
3.
Oh, roll
Okay.
again.
7,
Nope.
16.
Nope. Nope.
19,
16.
6,
Nope.
16. 3
11,
16s in a row. 6.
19, 4, 1,
2.
13.
One. Chris, choose one for Fergus.
Oh,
Neville.
jeez.
Neville
Right.
Longbottom.
Can you please record down Neville?
Yes, sir.
18.
And then keep rolling.
5. 18. 20. Got 20.
Wicked.
Well done.
I'm taking Tyrion.
Cool.
Good on you.
Tyrion and Neville are gone.
All right. 18,
16.
3,
16. That's like
5.
my 16. 4.
5,
Oh,
9,
8.
20.
Oh, you get to pick one.
Give me Sir Davos.
Davos, you have
17.
Neville and Davos.
16. 19. 20.
10,
Oh, pick.
13.
I did say Hawkeye. I'll go. Oh no, I said Luna.
20.
I'll take Luna.
Give me Bruce Banner.
Banner.
1.
We. Cole, Fergus, choose one.
You get Gimli.
Wicked. So
I'm alright with
left on the
Gimli.
board is Gandalf and who? Hawkeye. Gandalf and Hawkeye are the
Gandalf
last
and
two
Hawkeye.
standing.
Yeah.
Gandalf and Hawkeye. I
To
have.
split the difference, what we're going to do now is we're just going to do a high roll for the last one.
A roll off. Good, because
Yeah.
I kept rolling and I just got a 1, but it doesn't count.
Or does it? I didn't know that. So yeah, just do. Can you both just roll your dice and tell me the numbers?
All right, 3, 2, 8.
1.
Chris, you choose.
Okay, so Gandalf or Hawkeye?
Yeah.
Just looking at team composition, I'm taking Hawkeye.
Cool. Okay, you're taking Hawkeye.
I reckon he gets
I'm
a
happy with
raw deal.
Gandalf.
He never misses.
Okay, so just confirming the team lists. So for Team Fergus, we have Gandalf, Neville, Davos, and Mr. Bruce Banner. And then for Team Chris, we have Hawkeye, Tyrion, Luna Lovegood, and Gimli.
Yes, a winning team.
That's
if
the
ever
one.
I heard one.
Amazing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to play a hierarchical game. And I hope the people at home have either their own roster of 4 or they know if they are on Team Chris or Team Fergus and they know that list again. But I'm going to start off by giving you a topic. And I want you to order them from most of that quality to least representing that quality.
Right.
Okay. So the first topic we're going to do is going to be caring for someone beyond themselves.
Ooh.
Okay. Are we allowed to confer and critique?
Discuss. Talk about it.
Discuss.
So, you know, I don't know if it's easier to go who is the most or who is the least out of these and try and eliminate the extremities.
See,
Go on, Ferg. What's your instinctive most?
my problem is that many of my characters are frustratingly self-serving. Selfless rather,
Yeah.
to the point of there being no extreme outlier, except for a conditional on Bruce Banner and the Hulk,
because they are 2 different people.
because there's 2 characters.
I feel like Luna is a pretty easy most for me. Because Hawkeye cares, but he cares about his family before
Yeah,
everybody
I think I
else.
have to rock Gandalf first because he jumps off a cliff and dies for everyone else.
Luna, I'm locking it in. Let us know what you you guys think
Yep.
if you're playing along in the chat. Right, okay. So, who's the least caring for something other than themselves in your group?
I would say probably Bruce Banner.
Interesting.
He seems very self-concerned out of necessity, which means he doesn't have a lot of space to worry about other people.
Okay. Yeah. And if you were to ask for a number of things other than just safety of proximity, the amount of things that you probably be able to name was like, what is he actually, or who, or, list the things that is cared for or by
Yes.
him.
It's like a couple of people
Yep.
at best.
Cool. What about on Team Chris?
I think I did mention the toss-up between Luna and Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So Hawkeye is definitely my number 2. And then between Gimli and Tyrion, really, really fascinating one actually, because you could say that Tyrion exclusively cared about everything else other than himself, but is also a notable selfish prick. Big stuff he cares about, but mundane, general stuff outside of himself, he doesn't care about anyone else. So I think I just answered my question actually. I think Gimli, just a note on Gimli, is that he is good and he cares and there's empathy there, but there's an element of exclusivity in what he cares about alongside the big stuff. Yeah. So he's my number 3, and then Tyrion is my least.
Awesome. So you've worked out your hierarchy?
Yeah.
Cool. Fergus?
I have settled that I think Davos is too unconcerned with larger scale things and is doing things out of a sense of duty rather than service.
Okay. Cool. And to be fair, what we're getting at with these is trying to start thinking about characters and how they can appear in fiction and be wonderfully interesting in fiction. But if you think about them when it comes to things that trigger stakes, and when we go to characters that are played characters, having those attachments or those relationships or those things that you care about provides a lot of clarity in understanding what's important for your character. So we're going to park that, and we're going to touch on some of the stuff later on, but we're going to go to the next one, which is going to be, can you rank these from most to least socially adaptable? Who's the one that can get into the wider or the greatest range of social situations, and who is the most limited?
So in a complete turnaround, I think Luna is an easy least socially adaptable, and I'm gonna put her there. However, I really appreciate about Luna Lovegood is that she's not oblivious, but she doesn't actually care too much about any awkwardness socially or any exclusion or anything like that. So she's my least, and for most socially it's Tyrion, isn't it? Obviously.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Tyrion and Luna.
I think least I might actually have to go with maybe Bruce Banner again.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't put himself in situations where he can be socially adaptable, so he doesn't have a need to develop that skill.
Or just an aversion.
Or
and this is the gimmick element of a character where, and the Bruce Banner type is a great stand-in for anyone that wants to be a werewolf, or, something where you have these sudden loss of agency, or something can turn quite quickly. That can be quite a daunting or limiting perspective to play from, just because if you take that seriously, it can affect so much.
Cool. Okay. And then my middles. So Tyrion the most, Luna the least. Gimli's way more socially adaptable than Hawkeye. Hawkeye's got the chip on his shoulder that he's the most useless Avenger. There's no getting past it.
Yeah, 100%.
Hey, they have never won when Hawkeye wasn't there.
Yeah, but you can have star players at any sports team and they can still fluff the league.
Sure, but every time Hawkeye hasn't been in a fight, they've lost.
But they've never fought Gimli.
True.
True that.
Maybe Gimli is the quantifiable factor there.
Do you have yours, Fergus?
Yes, I have figured out that I think Gandalf is the most adaptable by default because he's everywhere and he talks to everyone all the time, forever and ever and ever. There are people who call Gandalf, at least in the movies, by about 4 or 5 different names based on the cultural relevance of Gandalf's character.
Yeah.
Secondly, though, I have Davos Seaworth.
Yep.
Because he's shown such a clear, reluctant adaptability with his surroundings that even though he hasn't wished to be held in noble courts and lordships, he's now a noble lord and hand of a king in some regard.
I would say about Davos as well, what I really appreciate him is that authenticity because he's well aware, kind of like Luna, right? Like he's well aware that he doesn't fit in any of these engagements and these social structures, and so doesn't even try to pretend, which makes him adaptable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. And then after that, I've got Neville because he's kind of just a middleman, average guy.
Beginning
comparatively.
Well, early Neville and late Neville are 2 different beasts entirely.
They are.
There's a Bruce Banner element to Neville Longbottom.
There is, you're right.
And actually, on that note, that's going to bring us a really nice segue into our next topic, because the next arrangement that I want you to do is I want you to do on how much they either change or you believing they have the capacity for change based on how they've been presented in their respective media. So are they more of a constant or least on the changeable, or are they highly changeable? Do they react and actually take on board lessons, learnings from the things that are presented to them?
Cool. So about evolution as well.
Yeah,
right?
growth. Change and growth.
Changeable and growth. Cool. Okay. Far away, Fergus.
I honestly think that Davos may be the most changing character out of all 4, ironically. Mm-hmm. Because Neville starts as an 11-year-old child and goes to a 17-year-old, and that obviously shows growth. But Davos is a 40-year-old, 50-year-old man who is forcibly shifted in their surroundings and has to adapt to that reactively. And I think part of the bias there is that we also see Davos's point of view, which means we're able to bear witness to the inner thoughts of that change as well.
Cool.
Nice. I like that.
But second would be Neville.
Okay.
And a pretty close second. Gandalf, for me, doesn't seem very changeable at all. Gandalf kind of stays the same, ironically, that considering he dies and comes back as a completely different character, because it's still the same core person. It's just in a different box.
I feel in some ways Gandalf, by the time we meet him in any of the books, has already done his character growth.
Yeah.
Like, how old is he anyway? He's like
1,500 years old or something like that.
So he's done his developing.
Yeah, he's finished.
He's found his consistency.
Yeah, he is now an NPC.
Gandalf's an NPC.
He's a legacy NPC from an old character.
What is it? Insert DMPC?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Wicked. And if we're thinking about the bottom slots, who have we got
yeah. After that, I've got Bruce Banner and then Gandalf following.
Yeah. Right.
Cool.
My one is Tyrion goes through tremendous growth, and he is my most. He learns compassion, and he learns about stakes and their impact on people other than themselves, as we discussed. I think that I don't think Gimli changes much. The only thing he learns. Show from that face. Talk me through it, Jacob. I feel like he learns to appreciate Legolas.
I think he likes Legolas.
That is a whole cultural. He is giving up as an indoctrinated, almost borderline racist or bigoted beliefs of being so anti-elf, to then wanting a Heir of Galadriel, to being one of the only dwarves in recorded known history to be ushered to the land of the undying because he became such a bro with the elves. That is such a ideological redemption arc.
It's really interesting.
It's your list. It's your list.
It's really nice to have that perspective, because I was instinctively going to volume of changing in the most areas. He hasn't changed in many other areas, but that one significant aspect of evolution for him,
outside of the fact that now Gimli doesn't hate elves,
has such magnitude. Yeah.
But that was 100% of his personality.
Yeah,
he changed 100% of his personality.
For you, Jacob, I will put Gimli in number 2. And not that I disagree. And then I think that it's a really real toughie. I love Luna, but I don't know if she changed. It maybe gets a bit more confident. But she always had that confidence. She's pretty fearless. I think
Luna. I'd say Luna doesn't have enough moments in the book to show any growth. If she does, the only growth I could see is ironically Harry's opinion of her.
Yeah.
And if it's not for the fact that Harry learns to like and appreciate Luna, we wouldn't know anything about Luna.
Yeah, there aren't many dimensions to the Luna Lovegood.
Very little, very few.
All right, so Hawkeye number 3, Luna number 4.
Awesome, amazing. And our last one that we're going to be arranging them in, and this is also a really, really important one when we're thinking about not just really interesting characters, but interesting playable characters, is what is their capacity for agency, choice, or impact? Who has the most agency and who has the least agency?
Ooh.
If you were to think about these as player characters, like if you had two, take one of them and put them in a campaign, play them as they are, who's got the most agency, who's got the least?
So it's more about the who they are and their internal agency as opposed to their circumstantial and environmental agency. Like you could say Tyrion's a Lannister, he's super, super rich, therefore his potential for agency is a lot larger.
You can contextualize it within the world, but then it would be weighed against the impact of that within their world.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so interestingly, Hawkeye left the Avengers.
Yes.
Big dog.
Knowing the stakes, knowing what was at risk, and of course choosing his family, or choosing being miserable about his family over it. I'm putting him the most agency. I think Gimli what is Gimli? Is he a prince, or he's like a chief?
Yeah,
the chief of.
He's like the prince of a dwarven kingdom.
So by the context we were just saying, like he's got loads and loads of agency, and he leaves and he goes out, but he is so bound to that quest and bound to his core belief system that I don't believe that allows him a lot of agency. So he's probably my least.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really struggled with this question because I feel like outside of Gandalf, considering he's Gandalf, I don't think anyone really has a lot of agency out of any of these characters. Because Neville shows a little bit because of the very kind of last moments of what we see him in the story. He displays a lot of personal agency and choice making and kind of rebellion against regime, which is great. But Bruce Banner and Davos are kind of just strung along and do what they're told, especially Bruce Banner. I don't feel like he's made a choice in like the last 10 years of his life.
No, and I think as soon as you're sharing a physical entity with another, and whatever the triggers is, factoring that in limits your choice, right? Like all of a sudden, he can't just, go and smash up screens and be angry because the big green dude's going to turn up and level a city.
It's kind of imprisoned by the condition.
Yes, exactly. Because of the risk of what could happen should he have agency, he's therefore stripped away of it.
Nice reasoning, Ferg. I like that.
Love it. Okay, so you should now have your list. And if I want you to look down your top spots, can you just tell me your 4 top characters across that board?
Luna, Tyrion, Hawkeye.
Okay.
Gandalf, Davos, Gandalf.
So, and you know what? And this is a great example where if we look at the Davos, Gandalf, you can have a character that is so powerful and fun in situations and has this, wonderful backstory. But if there's no capacity to grow, is that going to be the best character for you to play? Because you are going to be a constant. You're going to be unchanging, which then kind of, like, what kind of stakes does Gandalf have for himself? Or is he more just trying to make sure other people around him don't die?
Some might say the biggest stakes.
Yeah. And then you've got Tyrion, who's a really interesting contrast. And I think he popped up twice for you, Chris.
Yeah.
Where I think in a range of situations, a Tyrion type character who is trying to navigate things by being clever is a really fantastic thing to aim for. But as far as a repeatable experience in a tabletop role-playing game, the opportunity to get those, scheming talks, maneuvers, trying to outsmart people might be limited if the rest of your party is wanting to go kill goblins or, put something back in a tomb full of undead, in which case, how relevant is that character?
Yeah. If they're on a holy crusade, what's your barroom?
Why are you killing goblins if you need to go save a church?
100%. And the reason why I wanted to start with this exercise is I wanted us just to go through what is really cool in iconic characters and understand that there are really, really cool characters for their media. But we, with what we're about to do, want really, really cool characters that are specific to what we know as the experience of a role-playing game.
Cool.
So throughout, I'm going to challenge that a wee bit. If I feel like we are getting into a path that might be low in agency, low as far as your social adaptability, low in whether you feel like you're starting to not care for anyone else or too fixed and not able to change, I might just challenge you or maybe ask you to give another thought or another answer to something. Sound sweet?
Sweet. Okay.
Wicked.
Yeah, man, let's go for it. Wicked.
I have a few points off the back of that. Gandalf, your top banana, would be on Team Chris because his name has an odd number of letters. Your team would annihilate my team in a fight. Like, it's not even close. And would
But
also,
you felt
ironically, every single person on my team would be on Team Chris.
yes.
So I've actually got no one, so you win by default.
Brilliant.
Except for Luna.
Oh, I think Luna would scare people on vibe.
Yeah.
Like,
And Tyrion. Luna and Tyrion.
She's the disarming. She's the chaotic element. I'd also like to say good day to Stormy's Tavern, who has just arrived in the chat. Our first ever follower, and very kindly sat and, I imagine, giggled to themselves whilst we were setting up the stream for 15 minutes the other night.
Oh my gosh.
And hello, Old Cloud as well. Old Cloud 7.
cool.
So good to have you guys here.
Sweet. So this is a little bit of a run sheet or a checklist of what we're hopefully going to be covering off. Now, the reason I put this in is for if there's anyone at home who's following along with us and maybe you're doing this or you're thinking about these questions with a character you already have, or there might be a character that you are starting to already think of, and you want to use this as an opportunity to shape them, you might already know some of the answers to this question. So you may want to go through that section, but just know that for you that might be already filled in. But what we're going to be taking these guys here through is going to be knowing key moment or moments that shaped their characters' beliefs, knowing the most significant people in their characters' lives, understanding their environment, where they grew up and how they feel about it, know how the character tends to make decisions, know who or what my character feels responsible for protecting, know what my character wants and what they're willing to do to achieve it, because desire and capacity aren't always necessarily, neatly tied. Knowing which class to play. And we've put it at number 7, and this is quite an interesting thing. And I know that we've talked about this before, but from my understanding, about 85% of people start actually at number 7. And then everything else is shoehorned backwards. Would you guys...
Every time I've ever played a character.
Without a doubt,
starts
my
with
character is based on what do they do before who they are to justify what they do.
Spot the power gamer, that guy.
100%. And honestly, that I've done that as well. And I don't think I actually necessarily made the most fantastic characters from doing it. And sometimes I found them to be limiting, or sometimes I found them to be abrasive, or so hopefully this yields a different type of character, or maybe it's just going to lead you to the same conclusion, in which case, awesome.
I'm kind of fine with it, because so often my characters just hide behind Ferg's characters. It gives me tremendous agency to not have to worry about actually fighting anyone.
I can choose to stand over there because I won't be in danger over there, and I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And another part, number 8, is something that some players and some groups do instinctively really well, but they already predetermine a relationship within the party. And actually, I think exploring that, if it's not a intrinsic thing as part of the character creation, knowing that they're tied from the very beginning, I think is a really important thing to cover off before you rip into your campaign. And also understanding that at the end of this process, we do not want to know everything about a character, okay? By the end of tonight, we should have felt like we met this person at a party and we've got tidbits. We don't want the full story. Because if you met someone at a party and they told you their whole life story, there's no more mystery. There's nothing less left to discover, okay? So we are going to be thinking about this like if you've ever seen a connect to the dots drawing in a children's activity book. We want some lines, we want some dots, and we want to be left with the interpretation to still have things flexible, still discover things as we go, still ourselves as players wanting to be curious about going, what is this character? Who is this character? How do they live, think, feel, and do? Cool. All right, and we are going to rip into our first part. So I think you guys have with you some sheets. So what we're going to do for the first one, this is quotes, and these are a range of prompts. So Team Chris, you're going to be doing quotes from quote list 1, and Team Fergus, you're going to be doing quotes from quote list 2. So for the first quote list for each of you, I want you to read down the list and you're to choose a quote that you think. And then what I'm going to do is for the next quote list, I'm going to roll 2 options for each of you. And I'm going to limit the choice dramatically down to either this or that.
Cool.
For the second round of quotes.
Cool.
So we're picking one off this list, and then I'm going to give you a very, very short list for the next one.
I kind of like we're out louding this, right? We can discuss. Yeah, I kind of like I like they lived as though consequences were negotiable. That leaves there's so much room.
Awesome.
And I also actually like the one after that, they mistook clarity for truth, because I like the idea that but it's kind of like we were saying with Gimli, like that belief system through external influence can crumble, and then you have what's left over, and exploring those characters is really fun.
Okay. if you're not committed on one or the other, that's a totally fine position to be in, and it's actually a really cool one because what you can then do is potentially see as you ask some more questions, see if that's going to become clear as to what one becomes more. Remember, more exciting to play, not necessarily just more exciting for a character in a TV show or a book. Those characters are fantastic, and I would still suggest that you write them and pursue whatever creative venture to bring them to life. Maybe that's actually like putting them as NPCs and having a go at DMing something yourself and shoehorning those guys into there and let the players destroy your beloved darlings.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Mr. Clarity for Truth, I think, is the one that I'll go with at this stage because you gotta have some trauma, right? Gotta have some big old juicy trauma to explore. And Tempered likes, I am loyal to people who no longer exist, which is brilliant.
A fantastic one.
So good.
Absolutely fantastic.
It's so good. Tempers, can you think of a character from books, media, games who has that at their core? Let us know if someone springs to mind, or anyone else.
Yeah, if any of these quotes like attach yourselves to characters that you are aware of, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah.
It always helps.
So we were just choosing one for now?
Choosing one from this, I'm just, Ferg, I'll just touch base with you,
Yeah,
mate.
definitely. I am fascinated by... Where was it? I need to read it properly. I don't want to mess it up. This one here. Is that it? No. Yes, here we go. I learned to leave space for disappointment. I think cynicism is such an interesting idea in a game that has so much magic and wonder to it. That being disappointed seems almost impossible.
Yeah.
Unless you're faced with disappointment of personal reaction and action rather than like some type of metaphysical, larger scale disappointment.
Amazing. Can you guys record both those quotes down so that you...
So write his one down as well?
No, just your own.
Yeah,
That's totally fine. All right, we're going to jump to the next quote list, and then I'm going to read you both out loud your two options to choose from. And
okay.
One of the things that's really important to this is I don't want you to necessarily gravitate towards the one that makes the most sense in relation to the other one. Mm-hmm. Again, if we're thinking about that connect the dots, sometimes having two ideas or two things that are separate that we get to discover how they both can be true for a character creates a wonderful complexity that allows so many more decisions and opportunities. So for Chris, we have... Where are they? So we had number 18 and number 14.
18
so
and
they
14 in list
so
one. List 3.
3, yes. So number 18, they stopped asking why and focused on how. Mm. And then number 14 is they saw the pattern and chose to repeat it anyway. I'm going to let those sink in with you while I give Fergus his two. So the numbers I got for you, Ferg, was 19 and 16. Also, really happy with my rolls, by the way. So I got 14, 18, 16, 19. So that's some lucky D20s. Anyway, so number 19 for you, Ferg, I learned that heroes are just people who did not leave. And number 16 is I have been thanked for things I regret.
Ooh. Wow. These pose a lot of questions about why for that specific person.
And again, this is a dot. They are offers that you can just take on board. You don't have to be fixed. If you don't want to make a choice for the sake of moving forward, you can write down both and then make a decision later on as we start to do it. Because there's two ways that we are creative, right? We either design things creatively or we discover them. And more often than not, for every person, there's a mixture of both. So don't feel like you have to make a definitive decision just yet if you're not either excited by something or gravitated towards something just now.
I have one. I have.
Yep.
I've chosen. So
Awesome.
the first one that jumped at me was they saw the pattern and chose to repeat it anyway, because I love exploring what would cause them to repeat it in spite of whatever they know. However, I'm going to go with they stopped asking why and focused on how. Partly because I love it and there's a lot to explore, but I think that over the however many years I've played D&D and other roleplay games, I know the type of characters that I like to play, and I know the type of mysteries that I like to unravel, and in what direction character growth goes in. I'm really eager for this process to take me maybe a little away from that norm, but that's my one.
Amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Write it down.
Wicked.
Ferg, are you in a place of certainty? Or
I
still
think so.
Okay.
I think I am.
It is the most certainty.
We both sound so agonised over it. Oh,
I think I am. Yeah. I have to choose. No, I think I am. Yep. I think I am. I think that to follow an interesting narrative line, I learned that heroes are just people who did not leave. Plays really nicely into leaving space for disappointment because it creates that need for space for disappointment.
Okay. Awesome.
I like that. Complex.
Cool. And just take a moment to read over your two quotes. You don't have to read them out loud, but just read them to yourselves because they're going to help us frame the next series of questions that we're going to go through. And also remembering the initial part of what we've covered off, which is, and I love that you're focused on it, Chris, and wanting to make a character that's different is awesome, and it's a really ambitious thing to do. But also, don't forget, these guys are meant to be fun. They're meant to be a fun vehicle for you to pilot in what we're about to do going forward from here. So, you always remember the fun element. Okay, we're going to go on to...
Whimsy. Gotta be whimsy.
Gotta have some fun.
Next part. Cool. So reflections. This is where, and I want this to be less thought-provoking and more impulsive. Okay? So I'm not going to give each of you the same question. Mm-hmm. I'm going to quick fire questions at you guys. And what I need from you to do is just blurt out an answer. It doesn't have to be the right answer, and it doesn't have to be a fixed answer. But now what I want us to do is let's get into design and more just response and discovery. Okay? So the first one that is going to be coming is... Number 5 is going to go to Fergus. So for your character, with as little as you know about them, when did they stop feeling like a child?
When they were given away.
Amazing. And that's all you need to put. This is not creating a full backstory right now. This is your brain impulsively throwing something at you that you're going to jot down. And again, it's giving you another dot to connect.
Cool.
Okay? Mm-hmm. And for Chris, number 3, what is something that they want to prove?
That they're not naive.
Awesome. For Fergus, number 4, what is something they fear might be true about themselves?
That maybe their cynicism is wrong.
Cool. Number 7 for you, Chris. What qualities do they respect in others?
Offers to help them.
Okay.
Like generosity or a source of protection. Yeah.
Cool. Amazing.
Aid.
So, Wicked. Fergus, number 9. What do they do for their enjoyment?
Draw.
Cool. And number 12 for you, Chris. What memory frightened them the most?
Getting called into the monastery.
Wicked. This is fantastic because we all have so many questions that are not going to be addressed right now. And I love that. That's awesome. I have no idea where your character's going.
No,
And I love
right.
it. I absolutely love it.
What
Fantastic.
happened in that monastery?
Why were they in a monastery?
I don't know. He was really scared about it. It was traumatic.
Yeah. Cool. We're now going to jump to the next section. So hopefully people that are following on, maybe you answer some of these questions yourself that was on the list. If you were keeping track of whether you're Team Chris or Team Fergus, would love to hear some of the things that jumped out, maybe some quick snippets of, maybe some of your discoveries or decisions you've made if you are following along and making a character with us. So now we're going to move into a different section. So our origins, again, we're now thinking of moments. We're not trying to flesh out any of the decisions or discoveries we've had about a character so far. We're just trying to create, I guess, a good anchor point. And this is going to do two things. It's going to give us an understanding of potentially the foundational expectation of some of the morals or values they were exposed to at a really early age. And then actually having a physical location, whether it's in your own headcanon or within the world of the campaign, where are they from? Grounding people and having ties is a really important way that characters build an identity. So this is going to be a question for both Chris and Fergus. But again, we're going to just try and keep the answers to be short and punchy, though for these ones you can take a little bit longer to explore or think. It's just what I'll then ask you to do is give a condensed version definitively for me following along with you guys. Mm-hmm. So for both of you, what is your earliest memory or your character's earliest memory of home?
So
what's really really funny is that when I had the suggestion of being given away, quite ironically, Chris, is that I thought they were given away to some type of faithhood or monastery.
I can see exactly where you're going with.
And so I think their earliest memory of home is somehow
the complete opposite of mine.
Completely different. I think that they feel really, really at home in that church somehow.
Yeah. Whereas, funnily enough, Jacob, my character was the earliest memory was of ritual and routine and not luxury but comfort and structure.
Okay. Awesome. Are they good things? Are they positive or negative?
At the time, yeah, they were great things.
Cool.
I'm still referring as well to that first quote, like the mistook clarity for truth, as well. I'm already somewhere around the
cool.
The wall has been removed from eyes at some stage.
Yeah.
So, a monastery, apparently.
At some type of monastery or churchy building.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What was your favourite thing about home? This one is positive, Chris.
Yeah, and it is that routine. It's that routine and that.
I'm going to challenge you with a different answer for this.
Okay.
Not building on the answer you've done before, but add another feather to the bow.
Purpose.
Yeah.
Purpose.
Okay.
Convinced that you are on a path going in a certain direction and you have complete faith that that is the right way.
Okay. And was that something that was reinforced by just within the family of that character, or is that scaled to a wider setting?
I think wider, an immersion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
we're getting into a community level sense of role and purpose. Cool. Wicked. What about you, Ferg?
I believe that, and what's I think really juicy is that I'm now automatically playing off of the beats Chris is giving and providing an antithesis to that. I think my character really, really enjoyed breaking the rules of his home.
Okay.
I think that
what
there
rules
was
specifically?
I think that there was rules and structure
give me a little bit of detail,
and order and ritual. I think that there was set times to wake and potentially pray or serve or clean or create or whatever. And he really enjoyed finding times in between that to do things that were strictly against every single doctrine that he should have been following.
Okay.
And I think those moments of freedom were the fun.
Okay. So there was a value of freedom in amongst all of that.
Yes.
That was set there. And just so I can understand, again, if I think about a value perspective of what your answer was, Chris, was it that everyone had something to contribute, or was that groups of people are best organized, or if you were to kind of distill what value was taken away from that?
I think that purpose and that surety was from the example that was all around, like seeing other people fulfilled by that confidence in their pathway and inferring that and sort of manifesting that themselves.
Cool. Okay. For both of you, I'm actually going to jump, and we're going to go to, what was the first time you left home?
Alone, or
it could have been for a day, an afternoon, whatever that rings true. It doesn't have to be a permanent leaving home, but what we're looking to explore is when your sense of understanding and belonging is first challenged, or you see the capacity for change.
So I think that stifling community went on the road once a year.
Cool.
And the only time they ever left home was when home moved and then went back. And so for a long, long, long time, leaving the home wasn't leaving home. Never left home on their own, ever.
Okay, wicked. Cool, but you're still getting that experience of...
getting out into the world, but it's a somewhat sanitized or controlled
awesome.
exposure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Perfect. Ferg.
I think he was given up as a tribute or a payment.
Bleak.
And I think it was not at his own will, and I think it shifted his worldview completely.
Okay, just so I can understand, without having to paint too much of a picture,
Sure.
The contrast, or even maybe subtle differences of before that transition and after that transition. What were the things that may have stood out about that change? Less about the event, but an experience of this, then an experience of that.
I think before he probably felt very ingrateful for the safety of his home, of his community.
Okay.
And believed that it was impervious to any type of breaking.
Okay.
And being given up as a tribute or offering to whatever it was or may be, kick-started his cynicism towards it.
Okay, so it is compromising the belief of safety, or
yes, it's completely betrayed it, because now that system he's found safety in has betrayed his safety.
Okay.
Jacob,
Right.
can we please have my character win Fergus's character in like a horse race or something? That'd be amazing.
Well, this is where this is going. Look, that would require the consent of Fergus.
Fetch my
So, Jacob,
slippers, lad.
if Chris wants to own me, Chris can own me. I'll yield to that.
Okay.
Okay. Let's park that idea before.
Save it for another campaign.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. Okay, so we're now going to jump a little bit to now trying to understand if we think about your home or origin. Usually, these are places of, in some way, a series of positive expectations, and then in our fundamental understanding of those early parts of life, we'll get exposed to friction and want to start looking at how that friction can show up. So my question for both of you is, what kind of person do both of your characters clash with?
Unbelievers.
Unbelievers. Okay.
Leadership.
Or weak believers. People who don't believe as strongly as my character does.
What would be their determining or their sort of like measure of belief? Like, is it devotion? Does it look for more inconsistencies? Are you trying to weed out plebs from like hardcore people, or is it trying to get rid of the fakers?
Is it completely arbitrary? And he's just decided.
No, I think it's internally. I think that this character so believes whatever it is they believe in, that his entire motivation is to excel in that belief and believe harder than everybody else, which along with that ego and maybe the applause that they've got along the way of being that super believer, everybody else is unworthy because they don't believe hard enough.
So I have a question, and I love this as a...
Don't ask me what they believe in, I've got no idea.
No, but my question is, usually when something like that happens in a person, that whether it's a competitive or a pursuit of, whether it's significance or approval, it's coming from one or two places. It's either because they got taught that's how they got praise, or they always wanted to be praised for that but never did. So I'm going to ask you to make a this or that decision. Does this come from more of a, I was taught and this was how I got?
I think it was taught. Probably the first, that it was taught and praised, and sometimes even the people praising get exhausted at praising when there's a constant handout for praise. If all that person wants is applause all the time and it must be louder and louder and louder, even the most ardent supporters can get exhausted. So yeah.
Awesome.
Fergus.
So I settled on leadership. I think he is intrinsically rebellious, to his own detriment sometimes.
Okay. Is this a flat opinion? Like, is this a blanket all, or is there gradients of this? Or
I think he feels maybe threatened when he's viewed as someone not in charge of himself, and he immediately fights back against it. And so anyone who tries to present themselves as someone in charge of him or anyone else, they're now viewed as a leader who's going to take away his own autonomy, which he then fights against.
Would it be fair to say that there's a value of defiance?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then does that show up in any other facet of this character?
I'd imagine it has to. almost seems
Baked in.
baked in. Yeah, it's kind of part of him.
Yeah, like it's like
This is a fundamental trait of himself.
Yeah, I'm so far in committed to this energy that this is now the way I know to do things.
Yeah.
Sounds very cooperative.
You love a prickly bugger, don't you, Ferg? Gonna untangle that mess. Wow.
So I have a question for both of you, because
Sure.
I don't want both of your characters to get to a place of not trusting and not being cooperative, because this is a collaborative game. And my question is going to be something that we don't have to answer just yet, but I want you to frame some future questions with this in mind, which is, despite of this stuff, how have they learnt to be in a position to trust? Or how have they learnt to be cooperative? Because it's going to be really important for both of you as players that they are cooperative.
Can I answer? So
Yeah.
my instinct, certainly with a character like this, would or in a book or something, I think would be having a glimmer of insight that that cracks their belief. Okay, something fails and impacts their belief system, and I don't really want to go with that. So, I don't want the failing to be on someone else. I want them to. I want that total committed belief to have been cracked by that ego that they've got. That they'd convinced themselves that they had elevated to this point where they could request a favour or something that would typically be somewhat beyond the realm of feasibility, and they waited and they waited and they waited and they waited, and I think it's just a slow realisation that they had overshot the mark. And I don't want anyone else to have failed to show that truth to them. I want them to have just have a glimmer of doubt, but still not really be prepared to admit it.
Okay. Cool. Fergus?
I think that a core trait of defiance is a safety mechanism, but I also think that there can be rationality as a belief, and knowing that sometimes it's the right choice to cooperate and work together for whatever means it serves. And so, rather than it being an obsessive defiance, it's an instinctive defiance, but one that can be pushed against, and potentially there's room to explore a yielding of that autonomy or whatever for a greater reason.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe.
And I think if I think about my own understanding of when defiance shows up as a decision-making process, because I think that's where it falls into for people. I think people that are defiant, it goes into almost like the shortcut in a lot of their decisions. But they also have a very closed but really clear identity of those that are, for whatever quality, counter of whatever they're trying to be defiant of, and are a part of an inner circle.
Yeah.
So, and that's also a very strong identity as well, where the people that they believe are also defiant, whether that's right or wrong, that really helps unify them, whether it's against the man or that unifying other or whatever it is. Okay, I think we can unpack a little bit more about that stuff later on, but again, I just want to remember that first part where we're looking for, characters that are stepping towards being able to be impactful, being able to be socially adaptable, have room for change and growth, but are going to care about things beyond themselves. And part of that is understanding and caring about each other at the table to some extent, because by the nature of the game that we're going to play, they're going to be putting themselves in positions where they're actually going to have to put themselves in discomfort for the well-being of these other people, whether that's just in a combat. Otherwise, characters would, if I didn't care about another person and I've got a giant troll running towards me and someone else, I don't care about that person. I'm hightailing it away. Wicked. We're going to jump ahead to the next section, which is going to be connections. Part of also what I'm going to be challenging these guys with is the idea of understanding two concepts, bids and offers. So a bid is how you interact with either an NPC or another character at the table. It is those little moments where you are trying to, whether it's create a moment or a scene or share a spotlight with a character. And I think they're really important. And as a desire for us understanding how they can show up in the world. And part of that is also bids for your GM. So giving those little tidbits and offers and clues to the GM DM so that they can pick up and work with those, and that's going to help your characters feel more immersed. The second one is just offers in general, and offers when it comes to character creation is don't feel like you need to actually fill out every answer. The more loose threads that you have, where if you write up your backstory or you talk about it or you share it, as long as they're given to people that can do some stuff with it, like DM, GM, they can be woven into the story in a really, really meaningful way. So, big highlight, don't feel like you have to answer everything, and remember how it's going to come across at the table. So, going for the first question for Team Chris, who first encouraged them to pursue their current path?
I think given what I've sort of explored, can I say that community? Because I feel like it's, in my mind, it's a singular voice pushing everybody in that community in the same direction of purpose or faith or whatever it is.
Wicked. And for you, Fergus,
Yes.
who would be disappointed if your character failed?
I think that my character has some type of strange authority figure in their life that views them way more positively than my character views the authority figure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the authority figure has some grand idea about how capable my character is.
Okay.
And that failure might hurt that authority figure in some way.
Okay. Cool. My next two questions that I'm going to have for both of you, I want to challenge both of you to, I think we've started to explore a really good bit about your community, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to ask you to do discoveries outside of this.
Okay.
Completely different parts of their life where we're wanting to explore more dimensions to the character. And then same for you, Fergus, is exploring different relationships outside the authority figure. Okay. We want to get wider dots. Okay. Other than just have everything funneling down in one direction. Okay. So my question now for Chris outside of this is, who might they struggle to cooperate with?
So, as you said that, and I have to now take them out of that community, there is a component of mandated service. Don't know what kind of service, but it requires going out into the world and delivering some sort of value. So it would absolutely be the vying for the leadership of that process out in the world. So whoever is competing to pick the direction and steer things in a certain way.
Amazing. Perfect. And for you, Fergus, who would your character trust in a difficult situation?
if we're looking outside of this very, shallow 3-step narrative that's kind of been laid out in his life so far, I think he would. This might be a defiant answer, which is in line with my character. Is there potential to say that he hasn't learned to trust anyone properly because of the betrayal of trust?
So by the time that you're going to play,
Right.
and this is giving also clues to Chris's character on how he can cultivate that trust.
Okay,
So
cool.
this is creating a sort of meta bid for him.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I would say that for the sake of actually making it so that they can trust each other, I'm going to say it's a bullshit answer and you have to try again.
Nice, gotcha. No, that's fine. I love it.
But you're like, but my lone wolf. I really love him.
No. I don't want him to be a lone wolf. No. Goodness, no. It'd be boring. In that instance, I think he would be able to trust someone who is competent. I think competence is a big thing.
Awesome. Cool.
I think
so
that
admiration of just competency.
Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. Which still allows for, if you start connecting those dots, you actually can flesh out more about complexity and relationship, about the character's background. But by branching out, we're going to start getting more nuance to things, which is what we want. Okay, we're going to jump, and I'm going to give a question to both of you for the next one. Is who were you closest to growing up in a positive way?
His sister.
Fantastic.
The person who was delivered to the church he grew up in at the same time as him, but came from a much more impoverished background.
Awesome.
My character won 2 orphans in that horse race. Double bubble.
Okay, write those down because I want to circle back to those figures and touch them in a wee bit. But still in that childhood, positive elements of childhood, because the temptation of tragedy, and this does not negate tragedy, it just creates peaks and valleys. What was both of your characters' proudest childhood moment?
It would have been being selected to play a pivotal role in some sort of ritual or process or undertaking that doesn't happen very often.
Big moment of significance.
Yeah.
Like,
lots of applause.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the praise. All the time.
Well done. Well done, me.
Yeah.
I think it has to be some form of mischief. Some grandiose, maybe slightly over the top prank on the leadership or people in charge of his church that he managed to rope a lot of other people in, and it actually succeeded. And that euphoria of succeeding.
Okay. I'm going to ask both of you now to create or think of a significant senior person. This is in place of the closest relative. There was a significant senior person in both of your childhoods who, while not completely stood in contrast ideologically to whatever it is, probably just didn't take those things as serious as everyone else around, but still was a positive influence in your life in some regard. And I want you to think of a moment where they demonstrated that.
A travelling peddler / performer / gleeman who they would encounter on those not very often excursions to wherever it is they go, and it was a moment the character allowed himself the freedom to divert his mind from that singular focus and actually just enjoy something that was beyond belief.
Cool.
A regularly returning trader and food supplier who caught him trying to steal just for the thrill and instead showed him a better way of how to.
Did you say trader or traitor?
No, trader.
Okay. This is a bold.
Trader's great.
Yeah. He's a traitor. I loved him. Like,
He was great. He ruined our entire life, but he was a great guy.
but he's been called the traitor.
Yes, he is the betrayer.
He's got it on his t-shirt.
So good. Fantastic. Okay, cool. And when you think about your character, if we were to see them session 1 coming in within who they are already, what is something that they would hate to give up for both of you?
This person.
Your character.
Sorry, can you say that, rephrase or phrase that again?
So, session 1,
Yeah.
they are walking into scene 1, session 1, at the table. Right in that moment, what's something that they would hate to give up?
It would be something that he believed offered him protection or an advantage or enhanced his skills, and regardless of whether it's a viable thing or a mental crutch, like, I need this, I can't deliver if I don't have this trinket. Yeah, it would be something that in fact, I'd like it more if it was something that didn't actually deliver any advantage, but he absolutely superstitiously believed that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think it should be a much younger childhood memento, and he doesn't know why he cares about it or remember where he got it from. And it has no relevance to the upbringing that he knows, but prior to him being delivered into that upbringing, he was very attached to it, and he doesn't know why he still cares about it.
The old childhood MacGuffin.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it could be anything. It doesn't matter what it is, because he wants it. It's important to him, and he doesn't know why.
What is it? And also, I'm going to ask you if you want to start thinking about what your token totem item is. I want to know in a bit more detail what these are.
I think it is a copper bracelet with carvings or engravings that make no sense, or that are slightly worn out.
Wicked.
Mine is a monocle with a slightly purpled lens that he 100% believes allows him to perceive things better or see the truth of things.
Brilliant.
But it does absolutely fuck all.
It just makes his vision slightly purple.
Yeah. It's it just makes
don't know
one
that.
half of his world look a bit disco.
You don't know that. For all you know, you could be rolling with advantage every time you're looking through
Maybe
it.
you are. Yeah. I love that he's now got a monocle.
Fantastic.
Character art's going to be great.
Wicked. All right, we're going to be jumping to part 4. What we're now going to be looking at, and this is probably already going to be, it might feel like you already have a good idea of this. And my challenge to you would be try and think again of something different. Try and think of something that is outside of what we're already getting clues about the character. Okay, this is to try and discover something else about the character. So if I was to ask both of them, what does your character respect most in others? And I would amend this question to be unrelated to anything that you've shared so far about this character. What is something else that your character respects most in others?
Do you want to go, Ferg?
I think he really respects when people can mend their own clothes.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
People who can just fix things themselves without having to get someone to do it for them.
Cool.
Self-sufficiency, I guess.
Bordering a little bit on the
But competency. Are we now too close? Have I gone too close?
I liked it until you started explaining it, and then I was
No,
like,
I think let's make it more vague. He just really likes that people who can mend their own stuff.
Cool.
Small sacrifices. Small, willingly taking on small hardships. Because
Okay.
when the need to give up or make a major sacrifice, a habit of small sacrifices makes it easier to give the major sacrifice.
Would I be right then in assuming that there is a counter, maybe not disdain, that could be a strong perspective, but if someone is unable to make a small sacrifice, does that hold a judgment?
Or unwilling. I think when I say small sacrifices, I mean easy sacrifices. So not ones that are a big challenge. It's almost like showing off by going, yeah, I can go without tequila for 2 weeks. No problem.
I'm going to be internet
I
free
can't.
for a minute.
Yeah, this is... I shall not.
So yeah. Wicked. And a question for both of them, and this is giving us a clue towards exploring more about their agency, decision making, ability to take action. And we're going to be jumping to number 3 within the priorities is what motivates them to act when others hesitate.
Severe impatience.
Okay.
Like to the point where it's actually a flaw of his personality is that he's really impatient and just wants things to hurry up and happen. Except when he is in control of when they happen. And then he's very willing to wait.
Self-preservation.
Okay.
And if there is no immediate risk, still acting because, and I know this is a little bit close to what I've said, but the applause, like the spectacle and recognition.
But would you also say that because is there a fear of something that's motivating it though? Because obviously there's the applause part, but what I initially got with your answer was more on the like what happens if you don't? What happens if you don't maintain that facade? Like what's the counter emotion there? That because there's what we walk towards, but what are we walking away from?
I think that there's a strong, with what little I know about this person, there's a strong, rightly or wrongly, a strong suspicion that everybody's out to get him, or there are dangers everywhere.
Cool.
I expect more wrongly than rightly, but yeah, I think that there is this expectation that you have to keep your wits about you because everyone's trying to get stabby or steal your monocle.
And it's because it's of such importance to him that he can't understand why, like everyone else, of course, it would be as equally important to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
How can they not covet this? Of course they're after me.
Amazing. And this is to start sharing and showing a little bit about the character's personality. And there's a temptation, I think, for Chris's answer. I'll let you answer it, but I might ask you to expand or try other elements, depending on what you say. But when we go to when your character is doing well, what are they usually doing? What does that look like for your character, Chris?
My character is doing well. What are they usually doing? I would say, unbeknownst to them, when they're doing well, it's because they're actually focused on something mundane and normal. They're getting a taste of everyday life, but they don't recognise that that's what's happening. And they'll snap out of it and go back to form.
Yep.
But you remember right at the beginning I said that I like that there's potentially those little glimmers of doubt, but they come from within. They're just self-imposed, cracking in the faith.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think that those glimmers of doubt are actually admitting to themselves that they're taking pleasure in doing something so simple as mowing the lawn or I don't know, picking fruit.
Okay. And just to help me better visualize the externalization of this, like if that was to be shown, not told, how would that manifest? How would I see that?
They'd hum, they'd sing, they'd have music in them.
Wicked.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's that vocalized joy.
Yeah,
to it.
yeah. There is whimsy there.
Yep. And it's...
But they're a little, they then get embarrassed about it. They're like, oh no.
Oh, cool. So it's almost unconscious. I become self-aware, and then I...
Absolutely subconscious, yeah. Subconscious whimsy.
Wicked. And same question for you, Fergus. Like, when your character is doing well, what are they usually doing? And just, again, to probably help prefix the question, as I clarify with Chris, how does that show? Not how is it told?
I think it shows by their mood towards other people. I think the way that he reacts to other people's behavior is better if he's doing well than if he's not doing well. And he isn't aware of the fact that if he's done really poorly, then he comes off like a massive ass. Because he's so upset at himself for doing poorly. But he just projects it onto everyone else around him.
Okay. And if you were to paint two scenes, just quickly for... Imagine the audience has just jumped on the stream and they are to be told what those two things look like in his behavior or expression or any habits or externalized traits. What would they come across as?
I think they would come across as maybe uncharacteristic rudeness and snappiness if he's doing poorly. But if he's doing well, alternatively, because the question is how it portrays, skipping and a very lively, bubbly movement. You know, he's all over the place. He's less controlled and more erratic and free. Like there's a physical lightness to his energy and movement, physicality.
Is there a lot of correlation between his physicality and like the openness, the speed, the pacing of his movements and those emotions? Or like is there much filter in that mask or is he quite guarded?
I think no. I think there's almost no filter in it because he's not aware of it.
Okay. So he is fully expressive, completely...
Maybe a small amount, but it's very... If he's very overwhelmingly happy, then he's now forgotten that he has to control himself. And there might be a certain degree of, well, hang on a second, I am coming off way too happy right now. Or if he's doing poorly, he hasn't now clocked, because he's so frustrated, that he's being really rude and strict and tense because he's so internalized in his frustration that he isn't able to outwardly change that presentation.
Cool. Okay. Now, this is getting into less about the characters and more into about your expectations for both of you. And with what you know about the characters, what kind of scene or moment would you hope comes up for each of them? What is the things that so far are exciting you about being at a table playing this character? Or are we at a point where you are not yet excited about playing this character in moments or situations?
I'm excited to play the character because I think by design they're at that transition between this sort of stoic, regimented, belief-based life, and I like to think that they've already gone some way towards separating themselves from that and recognizing that there's more out there. And so I like the prospect of playing a character who finds wonder, a newfound wonder in everything. Like it's a real voyage of discovery, and there's joy to be found in all of this new stuff.
Is it almost like re-seeing everything under a different lens?
Yeah.
Is that cool? Awesome.
Yeah, not a monocle lens either, just normal
Eyes.
metaphorical lens.
What happened to the monocle?
Probably got pinched.
Maybe my character pinched it.
I think Fergus's character's totally.
Well,
I've
That's
seen
not
him.
very
I've seen him
big
trying to
thrust.
wear it, but it keeps falling out because he isn't squinty enough.
No,
Is he
not.
just claiming that it's his own monocle?
Yeah, he's like, no, I've always heard this.
What are you talking about? This is a childhood relic.
It's not yours. I wear it in my left eye. Yours is a right
Yeah,
eye
this is.
monocle.
Yeah, yours was right-handed. Mine's left-handed.
Yeah.
That's
It's a
so
different shade
brilliant.
of purple, actually.
This is magenta. It's a left-eyed
That'd be
magenta
ridiculous.
monocle.
It wouldn't even look good on you anyway.
Okay, cool. So Fergus's character's gaslighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my character is totally being gaslit and not even recognising it. The joys of being gaslit.
Fergus, for you, is there things that you're excited about or hope that you get to
Yes.
experience?
Now that I'm realizing my character is a manipulative gaslighter, pardon me, I'm excited to see what happens both when he's faced with the realization that hurting people by doing these things, stealing or gaslighting or lying or purposefully messing with them for his own enjoyment, the hurt that comes off from that doesn't actually help his hurt in any way. I think that realization will be sobering. Consequently, I think that a journey of selflessness from a place of complete selfishness.
Okay,
And
so
finding the value and the joy in that. Giving a coin to some poor kid and saying, hey, that felt really good.
Okay, so you're excited and hopeful about moments to show or experience opportunities for contrasting
Beliefs
or
and
situations.
perspectives. Yeah.
Okay. The other thing that we need to start exploring as part of this is both of your characters are to have a unifying older person, but is a mutual person that the both of you know and hold in a high esteem. And what I would really love is if anyone in the chat wants to start throwing down ideas of names, because I think if after we come back from the break, if we can have a name or at least have a list that we can look over and discuss and choose or pick out a name, and that will help us shape who that unifying person is, and then we can kick off the second half after the break.
What we mentioned right at the beginning is that very typically in character creation, the first thing that comes is class, and then you build from that. And both Fergus and I said that always has come first when we've built characters before. We don't know what the classes are, and I think that I'm really, really enjoying that now. There was trepidation at the beginning, but I like creating a character and seeing what kind of class they feel like based on what I've learned about this character.
And what's really interesting to go off of that is that I'm now starting to see a picture of what class or classes would fit within this character's personality.
Yeah.
And it's not limited to that one class. There's a number that mechanically could fulfill this character fantasy. But I wouldn't have been able to have that freedom of choice if I hadn't been able to go through this process first.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't know who they are.
So, in keeping with that, while we go and make a cup of tea and hopefully we get a few name suggestions in the chat, I am going to roll sleight of hand to steal my monocle back from Fergus's character. And from what I know about them, they're not going to be very good at this, so I'm only going to add a +2 to it. It's an 18. It's a dirty 20.
Oh, he's got it. Hold on, hang on. I do need to roll a perception check to see if I notice this.
With an 18, I like to think you're a dirty 20. You're wearing it. They steal it from your face.
I rolled a flat 19 on the roll, and I'd say that my character must be pretty perceptive. So I might notice you trying to take it off of my face.
So maybe I get it, but you know I've got it.
I know you've got it. I'll get it back. You won't stop me.
I've stolen it before. Cool. Okay. Thank you, everyone. For I can't believe that we got raid in our first stream.
That's insane. That's so crazy, guys. Oh my gosh.
Thank you for everybody sticking with us, and I hope that you're enjoying it and getting something out of it and following along and asking questions. So we're going to go and make a cup of tea. So 5-ish minutes. Who knows?
Yeah, 5 minutes. We'll be back by 8:20.
5. Well, let's not box ourselves into a time, Fergus.
We'll be back sometime around 8:20-ish.
Yeah. Okay. Cheerio.
Cheers, team. See you soon.
Thanks, guys. So we are running through a slightly... For those who don't know, we should have mentioned this before we left. We are playing through a slightly modified and twisted version of Curse of Strahd, fitting it within a slightly different world, but still with the same style.
And neither Fergus nor I have ever played Curse of Strahd, or watched it. I've never watched it. I know nothing about it.
I have no knowledge about it except there's a vampire.
Deliberately.
I think.
I know there's a vampire.
And so anything that's kind of within that same realm of typically fantasy-ish, but not hugely, is fine. It's perfect. And the great thing about fantasy is that you can make names up and they work.
The only thing that I'd add into the setting of the world, as far as I've prepared, would be these guys are in a completely unrelated fantasy world. Traditional in the sense of they're going to be making D&D characters, and so within the realm of expectation or less limitation. And in that world, there is a known entity that has been floating around called the Hunting Fog, which as soon as someone becomes of enough renown, this fog appears almost like a beckoning challenge to their close proximity of wherever they are staying, and then it will disappear. And it is up to any courageous folk who want to take the challenge of trying to go into the Hunting Fog.
Sounds right up our alley.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I can't wait.
So what we can do is, if people want to also throw up other suggestions, and we can jump back into the next part of where we're going to be with these characters, and we will start exploring that other character. But would love people to, like we said, throw out as many names as possible, so we have lots of wonderful choice.
Like Antonius Stromagov.
Oh, what a good one.
What a name.
What a great one.
Wicked. So what we're getting into here is the persona. And personas, when we think about these for characters, is the characters that our characters want people to believe them to be. Doesn't always necessarily have to be their true ticking engine underneath, but they are at least what they try without test pressure or anything to compromise that, how they try and put their best foot forward, at least as they believe they should. So my question to each of you is, when you think about your characters, what is one specific thing you want others to believe about your character when they first meet you?
That, interestingly, and somewhat unrelated to Fergus's responses to other sections, but capability, an air of capability.
Awesome.
That matches the confidence. So he'd like to think that he has the capability that matches the confidence, but I suspect that the confidence quite outweighs the capability. Yeah.
I would love to play a character. I think that he is rather, I think he's a character that wants to be seen as really smart and aware of things, and just knows the right answer to any question you give him.
A know-it-all.
Cool.
And yeah, an absolute know-it-all, but like a cool know-it-all who doesn't want to come off like a know-it-all.
Is it, when you say know-it-all, do you mean like know-it-all that doesn't want to come off as a know-it-all, or know-it-all who answers a question without actually answering it, but it sounds like a solid answer?
I think he has no clue, but he says things that sound really smart and kind of relevant to feel like he's being smart.
Yeah. So they're not wrong, but nor are they right.
No.
Wicked. And what role, if you were to ask your character, do they think they play or serve within a group setting?
Ironically, leader. Or planner or organizer or something. I think he wants to be in charge of knowing what to do and making it happen.
If I'm the leader, it means I don't have a leader?
No, it means that I know how to do it, and you guys should just do what I would do and do what I say. But like, I'm not in charge, but you should do what I say.
Leaders
I'm
are
right.
worse, but do what I say.
Yeah. Do what you want, but it should be what I want.
Distracted by my character as a group. Was it what we'd like to be seen as by the group, or what they will be like in a group?
Like if they did like a Myers-Briggs test and it
Right,
said like,
okay.
what role do you usually find yourself playing in a group setting? But answer from the perspective of your character. What do they... It doesn't necessarily have to be true, but if they were to answer that, what do they think they do?
Over-eager explorer scout type.
Amazing.
And I say over-eager because it's not scouting and exploring necessarily because it's what's called for in a given situation, so they sometimes need to be reeled in and go, right, hang on.
Amazing.
Brilliant.
Cool your
So good.
jets, mate.
And this is also another step towards making bids for both myself and each other as players. But what is the first wrong assumption people will tend to make about them?
That he's smart. That he's really, really smart.
That's such a tremendous difference to the character I know you as at the moment.
Exactly.
It's such a contrast. It's beautiful. Okay. The first wrong assumption people would make about this character is actually thinking that sort of exploring, adventurous, eager to get going nature has any dollop of competency in it, and that it isn't just, I want to see all of this stuff. Hey, look at this. Let's go. Initially they may think, yeah, this guy's going ahead. He knows that he needs to find the lay of the land, and then they quickly realise, oh no, he's just. He
spent an hour looking at trees.
Yeah.
You know that there's like more trees over there.
I found a squirrel. I think I'm gonna find where it lives.
Yeah. There are 740 fence posts around that field.
Look, those are important details. And what would your character go out of their way to never let someone else see? And again, they're just framing this as thinking about their mask. What are they using that mask to try and hide or shelter or contain?
That mask they're containing that sheltered naivety.
Cool.
His incompetency.
Interesting. Oh, I love the judgment, and yet the I need to do everything I can so I don't feel that judgment.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, we're going to now jump over to the next section, which is attachments. Not limited to goals or desires, but the things that are held on to by them for motivation, purpose, direction. So, what I would like each of you to do, because I want to mix it up a little bit, is I would like you to make an offer from what you've heard and understood of each other's character, is to choose a question that you are going to answer on behalf of the other person. So out of the top 4 questions about what does success look like for the character, what would they regret never attempting, what type of situation might change their outlook on life, what would make them proud of who they become, I want you guys to think about this. Choose one, or one can be assigned. And I want you to, you don't have to do a very full-on answer. It can be a cueing answer where you might give them the start of something, a prompt where they then have to continue the sentence, or it gives them an aspect or a quality that you think might add to the character or help them with their character. But what we're now doing is we're giving each other offers for each other's character.
For Fergus's character, what would make them proud of who they become would absolutely be validation and recognition and praise. Authentic, believable praise for good instincts. Not for so much physical skills, but actual strategic, instinctive, good decision making that pays off and then gets duly recognised and celebrated.
Awesome. Yeah. Amazing. I think for Chris's character, I would love to know what type of situation. No, actually, I think that seed's already been sown. I want to know what success would look like. At what point do you feel like, yeah, I'm done now. Mm-hmm. I've won.
That's the one that I would have chosen if I were answering.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see what you answer.
And I think for Chris's character, I think it would be fascinating for them to get to the point where they have seen something that cannot be triumphed. They've found a place or an object or a creature or a revelation of divine reasoning or mundane reasoning that makes them feel, I don't need to know anything more because I've seen the single greatest thing I could see.
So a true moment of awe, like
yes,
something that
a complete awe that would be beyond defining.
Nice, I like that.
And whether that awe is good or bad. You know, it could be such a terrible vision that he's like, I don't want to see anything more after this because I don't feel like there's something greater. Or something great. And this is, a revelation of beauty that I couldn't ever hope to surpass.
Awesome. Cool. I love that, and thank you for both doing that. I think with a great amount of care, where there is the capacity, knowing the both of you, to have a wonderful go at just being like, "Oh, what would make him super successful?"
Have some trauma.
finding a field of 1,000 fence posts.
Yeah.
Finding something like finding a continuation of evolving prime numbers and realizing that it just never ends.
Yeah.
But you're still counting.
My next one is I want you to shift a little bit away from necessarily just as a character, and I want you to step back in with the idea of being a player for how you're going to answer these next questions. And when I ask these questions, and I'm going to do both, you have the same question, but when playing this character, what's something that you would regret never attempting to do?
My instinct actually took me to a play moment rather than a character exploration. I want to see, or I would really, really hate not seeing a grand scheme or plan of some kind not coming to fruition and succeeding, or at least having something work
For them. Some
Or
actual,
for
like,
them,
not
yeah.
Against them.
No.
Like, okay, cool,
Like actually, he plans this massive twisting and, weaving idea of how can we solve this problem, and he comes up with the most elaborate nonsense idea that has so many moving parts, and miraculously and almost going against every single reasonable expectation, it works.
The 1 in a million chance.
Yep, I want that 1 in a million heist.
Who would have thunk? Wicked. And for you, Chris?
As a player, what would I regret never attempting? I think that my characters don't tend to take charge. And so I would love for that to... I don't want to be a leader. But I would love for the situation to contrive to make it a necessity and for it to actually work.
Okay.
Like,
This opens up such an interesting interaction.
Willingly and knowingly go, okay, I've got this.
But I want to be forced.
And knowing
gotta
that my
push me.
character is so against leadership
Yeah.
outside of him, that opens up such an interesting dynamic of when does that trust allow him to yield to your authority in a situation.
Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. I don't want to explore any more of that other than taking those.
No, I feel like we could go down this
Isn't
path
it
too
so,
far.
there's such a careful line, isn't there, between...
Yeah.
It's not meta, I suppose, but between pre-contriving narratives or engagements or opinions like this process.
You're setting up a generalized
It's that
idea of
bits
where
and
the
uppers
story
thing,
might
right?
end up.
It's like, here's a hook with a worm on it.
But I mean, like the way I view the relationship, right, between GM and player is kind of like if this was a reality TV show, as a GM, you're almost the executive producer. So if there's something that someone has an expectation of, right, or let's even take another step back and go, okay, cool, you have the expectation that you want a steak. Right, you want a steak for dinner. I feel my role is to provide so much so as that there is a menu that steak is an option. And then you provide the option or you provide the situation. And then it's up to the interplay of how you actually either step towards it or run away from it. But they're really good things too, and that's where we go to those bids and offers we were talking about earlier. Really, really useful tools, because if you guys have these expectations, it's really good to know that, as opposed to spending however many hours and being like, oh, I didn't really live up to what I was hoping to get out of the character.
Yeah. It also helps with the establishing of a bit of a familiar dynamic.
Yeah.
From the get-go as well.
Yeah. And also permission, because I think that's another thing that's really hugely important when you are playing characters that affect other characters. And I think that's usually the trap that people, when you are not wanting to be changed, like the idea, I remember hearing people have a conversation about the idea of like maiming another character. And it's just like, yeah, do you want to maim an NPC? But then at the same time, are you inviting a permission where your NPC is okay to be maimed? Are you okay with that to go both ways, or do you just want it one way?
Totally.
So my next question is for...
So on that note...
So anyway,
So
maiming.
On maiming.
Which of your hands do you like the least?
So you have to choose a body part. No, I'm joking. You don't get to choose.
Welcome to CaperSmiths, everyone. The DM takes a finger every time we roll a nat 1 in real life.
Yeah. If you want to fudge a roll, it causes physical pain.
There's one lash.
Yeah. I want you to choose out of the 3 of these questions, the one that is the most interesting or exciting for you, rather than me forcing them upon you. I want you to look at how did your character learn something from a past event, focusing more on the how did they learn, the mechanism of which that lesson translated to a learning, as opposed to what the learning was, though you can still explore that. Number 2, in what way did that experience reinforce or challenge their beliefs? Under that question, you would assume that there was some learning, and that's getting more into challenging beliefs is probably the key part to that. And then number 3 is there's something that they're starting to, or there's the threads of coming to regret. Is there one of those that jumps out for either of you?
Yeah, number 3, definitely.
Yeah, I think that number 2 for me is huge.
I don't think it's...
I think...
Maybe a change because is it something they are starting to or could come to regret? I like the could come to regret. I don't like that they necessarily recognise that they could come to regret it.
Cool.
So with this character and this raw enthusiasm for everything new because they've relinquished the shackles of their previous life or belief system, they could get lost and lose who they are at their core because they're trying to dip their toe in all of the little ponds. They want to try and be everything, and they're taking it on tour and giving everything a little go. And I think that the regret could be you actually lose touch with who you are.
Oh, love that. Yeah,
dude.
It's so curious on the new and the novel that losing sight of what is self.
You get used to wearing or trying on so many masks, you forget what your face looks like.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's amazing.
That's a cool line. Okay, Ferg?
Geez, off the back of that.
I'll go write that down. You can take a minute.
Well done. Thank you. I'm really fascinated in an experience that challenges his beliefs because it harkens back to one of the very first things I wrote down on this piece of paper, which was that the fear of him learning that his cynicism is wrong. I think that there's... for a character who seems so determinedly mischievous and selfish and not godly in any way, shape, or form, those being core beliefs and almost personality traits and having those challenged by a significant event would be fascinating. And I think that it doesn't need to be one singular moment, but maybe a small moment that actually starts to spark the idea that he was wrong for being cynical for the last however many years he's been cynical and behaving that way, but he's not willing to face that yet.
Okay, I've got something that is going to be contrary to what we've been doing so far, which has been trying to avoid going too much down a rabbit hole. And while I understand that this might be a challenge to condense these things down that I'm going to ask for, both of you have touched on a potential contrast or catalyst or a point of reflection potentially for your character, Chris, or even being confronted with, or even just the insidious part of being confronted with that, or for you, Fergus, a critical moment. Is there a moment, and if so, in a brief paragraph or a few sentences, what was that? What was this? Because it seems like they're both kind of potentially defining moments, or maybe, Chris, it's the extremity of being so far away from the origins as a critical moment, maybe without the self-reflection. But is there a point where we could establish a almost core memory or core moment that you'd care to expand on?
Yeah, like an inciting moment where it changed or it began to. Yeah. So I dabbled with there being these little seeds of doubt. So I imagine that inciting moment would be the proof in the pudding. It would be the failure of something that he was so certain was going to come to pass and it didn't. I kind of like that maybe it was external, like all of this doubt. I like that he feared that doubt and he worried about that doubt and he felt that it made him less because that's not how you're supposed to be. And he pushed it down and ignored it. And then that inciting moment or that evidence was external to him. He saw someone fail to deliver or achieve something that was a sure thing. And that's what caused him to go, you know what? I'm out. I'm done.
Wicked. Okay.
Cool. So cool.
I don't know if he would have been in any danger, but I think that he would have been fearful of that decision. Yeah.
I have a idea of a moment, and I don't know what the backdrop of this instance is, but locking in on the current instance, for some reason he's compromised. Maybe he's imprisoned or being held, or is at some type of place where he is in desperation, even if that's just because he's broke and has no money to get the next wagon to the next city. I'm not sure what it could be. And out of desperation and defiance, he tries to pray to whatever god he doesn't believe in and never really did in the first place. And there is a moment where, with the possibility of doubt, that prayer was answered. And while it's not enough for him to say, oh, I was wrong, everything was true the whole time, it's enough for him to question whether or not his belief against, or his ideal against belief and faith is actually wrong. Because if that prayer was answered, even in such a minute and small way, that means that he's been wrong the whole time.
Cool.
I like that. But maybe that he is somewhat worthy.
Yes,
There is a
totally.
glimmer of worthiness.
Totally.
What's quite funny is it's almost, there's a very much an inverted trope as well, right? Like, because usually you have the person of faith who has the moment of doubt, where I love it. It's a cool inversion.
I think just to tack on to mine in it, because it's a similar theme, and I was trying to pick on what might that failure, that external failure have been. And I don't think it would... I was thinking of it as like a person had to perform some magical act or something like that. But I actually think it would have been in those little things, those little mundanities that he's become fascinated with, that they didn't help the kid up after they'd knocked them over or something like that. Like that he watched someone who absolutely should have done this thing, and it's in all of the commandments and all of the learnings, and they failed to do the most minute thing that is required of them in their faith or commitment or whatever, and it broke the spell for him because it was someone who was maybe high up enough that it is inconceivable that they wouldn't follow through with it.
It's like the first time you realise that a bedtime is actually an agreement, not an enforced thing where everyone just
exactly.
Everyone just suddenly goes 9:30.
Yeah, it's like, I have no choice in this. Like, and then all of a sudden you're like,
hang on.
That first realization that people don't have to do what they're told, and all of a sudden he has to face the idea that he might not have to do what he's told if he didn't want to.
Yeah.
what else is a lie?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like the childlike naivety of that.
Yeah, right. Like there's something that's something that he's guarding, but you've touched on that naivety is there.
Yeah.
And that's why he's so attached to the stupid monocle, because he's still naive enough to think it does something.
Yeah, and I like that it's painful to...
You don't know me.
Sorry, pardon me. You're right. Excuse me.
The monocle that I've just retrieved, by the way. Yeah, I like that it's painful to even comprehend that, yet acknowledging that things have changed and that he's right.
It's like the first time you see someone not say thank you to like a cashier at a supermarket or it's in front of a line and just not line up at all.
Right.
And you're just like, why there's things, there is order. What are you, how do I even justify what you're doing? Are you like sick? Are you in a rush? Like, okay, cool. I love it. We are now going to be jumping to usually the beginning. So I wonder if by now you guys have an idea, maybe even a top 3 when it comes to what kind of class you guys are thinking about playing.
Yeah, I am. So
Okay.
I'm going to slightly break one of our little rules here, because the three of us discussed that we weren't going to dwell or reference or talk on we're coming off the end of a 2-year campaign. So it's a big thing for all of us. So I'm not going to mention it too much. But these two will both recognise when I say I am done with gods for a while, I really, really mean it. In the sense that you both understand. So even though I've been talking about monastery,
You don't get to say stop.
You don't like gods, Chris? Are you sure? You've got so many of them on your side.
I'll tell you when you're finished, boy.
It's so rough. It's traumatic. It's stressing me out even thinking about it. All right.
There's got to be so many more soon.
Shut up. So.
Are you afraid of them?
Yes. They torment me. So I said monastery at the beginning, because it sprung into my head, and then I had a recoil from it. I was like, no, not a monastery. But I think some sort of ceremony. And so I'm typically a druid guy. I love druids, but I'm not going to do druid.
Cool.
So I'm thinking that I might do a ranger.
Cool.
But I'll replace the god stuff and the monastery and all of that stuff with a bit of like sort of more natural pagan kind of stuff.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Like a druidic order.
Yeah,
or like
spirits.
Paladin has, I think, it's Oath of Ancients, which is more tied to land and various things. Cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
spirits and energy, not gods and rules.
Natural lore and understanding of magic.
Yeah.
Wicked. And Fergus?
I'm quite caught, actually. Now, my first instinct was to go with a cleric, but the more I've walked down this path, the more I realize it wouldn't make any sense for this character to serve a god that he doesn't even think is real. Not that he can't, but I think it would betray too much of his backstory for me to look at this character as he is right now and turn around and say, but he follows a divine order and he performs miracles given to him by a god that he prays to every day. I think that seems counterintuitive, at least the way I see it.
Okay, I've got a flip question.
Go for it.
Because one of the things that was taught as a principle a very long time ago when I was doing improv, which is there's no such thing as a bad idea. There's just ideas you don't make work. And my counter question would be, under what logic, justification, or circumstance could these two contrasting things exist?
Very easily. He's a cleric not by choice. He doesn't get these gifts because he chooses to follow a god. For some reason, a god has bestowed these gifts upon him, and he's not really aware of it or why. Maybe he thinks that this is his own ability, his own self-given talent, and it's not at all.
He thinks he's a sorcerer.
He thinks he's really good. Yeah, and these are just divine boons.
Okay. Does calling into question the source of magic, because we've also got, if we're doing a world in which rangers can have non-deity based magic, is there the potential that, there is whether he is a sorcerer or it is taught like wizards are taught?
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah, and it's just like if you think about an organization where you're like, okay, cool, yes, I know what we do, but I might not necessarily believe in all of the culty-like things that you have to say about our mission statement. And, is there potentially a sort of a hierarchy of understanding, and then somewhere up that belief system, as you go up the different layers, it breaks?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And it was more so just an instinctive reaction to the fundamental idea, the rigid thinking around a cleric, but I don't think I have to subscribe to it for this character, which is what had me caught. I just had to then think through, how do I take this idea and invert it and twist it to then fit the narrative that I'm now diving into.
What would be the alternative, though? Like putting
the alternative is a rogue.
Okay.
Or no. It's either the alternative was either a rogue or a bard. One of the two. It was either going to be a cleric or a rogue, bard. One of the two. I'm not sure.
I would love to see you play a bard. I'd love it.
I really considered a bard. Yeah. I really toyed it.
Okay. So let's hypothetically look and put all three on the table.
Sure.
And I want you to consider two things. I want you to consider what it is you're the most excited about playing for this character. We've talked about the types of moments that you hope that they have, and also what your own mental expectations of imagining at least what you've been able to over the last wee bit, and put yourself and go, okay, cool, what do I really want from this experience? And then you look at those three classes where we've got cleric, rogue, and bard, and ask yourself, which one of these is going to allow me to have the play experience that I feel like I want and will be the most enjoyable for this character?
I think I'm settled on rogue. I think because it allows that line, that vein of self-sufficiency and competency to kind of show, but also the false intelligence through ability. Being able to say, yeah, I just stole $100 off that guy. I knew exactly where he would be, rather than just, I'm really light-fingered and I got lucky.
Yeah, wicked. What parts of each of those classes? So let's pin rogue for now.
Sure.
And ranger. What are your understandings of those classes? Like, have you, without going into too much detail about how or what was the means, but have you ever played those characters before?
Funnily enough, I've almost never played rogue.
Okay.
One of my first characters I've ever played in Dungeons and Dragons was a rogue character, but you can't really take your 16-year-old gnome rogue called Albert Uranium and say that was a legitimate, engaging play experience, because I didn't even really know how the game worked.
So you want another stab at it?
So I need another stab at a rogue. I need to give it another shot, another stab in the dark.
And a different campaign, Albert Uranium might just appear. Okay. And for you, Chris?
Right. I can tell you exactly why Ranger. So Ranger fits with the character.
Yeah.
Also, I definitely want something completely different to what I've been playing for 2 years. I'm really, really looking forward to being physically capable, bouncing around the place, climbing things.
That'll be a first.
Yeah, right. Instead of being carried for two years on.
For 2 years, you've sat on my shoulders.
Or in like a baby carrier. So yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to use the environment and to maneuver and have that utility in play. Also, I am most excited about potentially, and this will be a discussion with the DM, I'm sure, but I love having a companion. I love it. A companion that is played by the DM is one of my favourite things, because I don't need it to be capable or powerful or have great utility, but I just love that part of your character's self that resides in something else that you can engage with and other people can engage with it. And that's some of the most fun I've ever had playing D&D. So,
Awesome.
yeah. And I think Rangers are like, you get the beast companion, right? But it can be...
You can.
Yeah, or it could be any kind of companion. But that's what I'm after.
Cool. And
Official NPC says the excitement on Jacob's face makes me both pumped as an observer and nervous for Chris. Official NPC, the excitement on Jacob's face for the last 2 years for us as players has had all of us nervous. There have been 100 times I've looked over at Jacob and he shot me a glance and I've been worried.
It's rough going.
It's great fun. It's great fun.
Oh, it's such great fun.
I never kill the small fluffy animal unless there was at least 5 warnings.
Yeah. How many are you sure?
Like,
are you sure do you need?
Yeah, sometimes it's like, but you're about to send in this tiny thing. Yeah. Alone. Yeah. You didn't tell it to be sneaky. Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's a little thing.
Okay. But that's good. That's good. And hey, I'm very excited about this. What would be the things that would be concerns for you about the classes that you're about to play? Because mechanically, and they are the lens in which you're going to experience your role as far as a group, and there's only the 2 of you, and they're also going to be the experience of what type of campaign you're about to go in this composition.
I will say that based on a rogue and a ranger potentially, and the tone of what I believe Curse of Strahd to be, I really, really like the sneaky, careful, strategic appeal of it. I feel like that's in the offering here. However, it's set up, which again, it's not actually it will be challenging, but it's not a thing I'm not looking forward to, is that that is perfectly poised for one shitty dice roll to really derail everything. Like,
and we're screwed.
All you need to do is fail a stealth check, and that's it. Which I love, because I firmly believe that some of the best D&D moments ever come out of failure, more so than success, more often than not. And so I think that will be a challenge, to forge a plan and have it derail and then have to react very, very quickly and competently, because, as you both know, I barely use any of the stuff that any of my characters can do. I don't know the rules.
Can I do this?
Yeah, as someone who's maybe more mechanically minded for 5th edition than Chris is.
What are you saying?
I'm fine with it.
He just admitted to not knowing the rules. I'm aware that a party of a ranger and a rogue with potentially like a dog or a sheep or whatever animal follows Chris around, in combat where there's looking at it mechanically, because there is going to be combat at some point in time, I'm sure. If we're stuck in a small room
Squishy
with a big thing, we're going to have to work really, really hard and creatively to find our way out of that small room.
Look at Jacob's face, like, no, don't worry about that.
And that excites me. That really excites me, because it forces us to think outside of just how much damage can I deal to that thing blocking the door.
Which is cool.
And I'm really excited for that moment. But I am aware that is a shortcoming of the, I guess the best word is party composition that we have as a ranger and a rogue.
And it's more about the types of experiences and expectations and roles you're wanting to fill, and making sure that that alignment between character, class, player are all sort of like lining up, so that there's not going to be... And I say this because what can sometimes happen is you can have a wonderful player and idea for a character and just a poor choice of class or subclass. And it's just going to limit, like when we're talking about your ability to impact or agency, it's just making sure, and the reason I'm just going over this is, you know, and I'm so excited about the sheep, by the way. Like,
I can't wait.
The beefy sheep as official.
Beefy sheep.
Or it could be a ram. Like, how much does a ram?
Oh, a hammy ram.
Like, I mean, I'd let that be a D8, man. Like, you know, hammy the ram.
Hammy the ram might end up with more health than both of us combined.
And you might need Hammy the Ram as a tank.
We might need him.
And, you know, I'm here for it. But it's just making sure that you guys are going to get the play experience, right? Because that's, you know, that's part of this is to make sure it's going to be all heading in the right direction. Yeah, and you know what? Albert Uranium as well. Fun times.
He'll make a comeback one day or another.
Cool. So what we're going to be doing is we're at the last slide, or the last section of this, and official NPC, you are... Look, I'm here for it, actually. You know what? Out of survivability and making sure that this is not a one-session stream into Strahd.
Yeah. Welcome to Strahd. Thanks for watching Strahd.
We'll get an hour and a half, and then we'll die.
Yeah. And then it'll just be me doing a solo session of how...
with a sheep.
So ram defeats Strahd. Yes, Chris and I will go out for a drink, and you can keep playing the game.
Just in a room by myself. little sheep mini on Foundry. Okay, so we're now going to be looking at relationships, and what I want is you guys can determine between the two of you how much before the start of the campaign your characters have known each other. And it doesn't have to be a best friend relationship. It can be acquaintances, and we still have to also explore for each of you the relationship that you're going to have with this third NPC, which is not the Ram. Okay, so this is outside of Hammy the Ram. But what we need is
Hammy the alleged Ram.
The alleged ram.
Listen, it could be a wizard polymorphed.
Yeah. So if you can think about your relationship with each other, and then each of you to this third person. So we need to work out 3 relationships. So
Cool.
what's the
Cool.
relationship type that you want for yourselves? Do you want a one by meeting by circumstance, one during a significant event, signed to the same task, or you've just are familiar faces?
Fully romantic. We're married. I'm joking.
Okay.
It would be a laugh.
Is that the ram? You're married to the sheep? I mean,
It was the best man at the wedding.
The best ram
so
at the
just for
wedding.
clarity, is this asking how we are connected to
Yeah.
this third person or to each other?
To each other.
So first it's to you two, and then what you're
Okay.
going to do is you're going to choose then out of the remaining 3 what each other's relationship type was with this third person.
I think that we can I suggest we both met completely randomly because we were going to the same place for completely different reasons.
So would that go under circumstance? Significant
Circumstance.
events? Circumstance.
But I think it's a situation in which both of our characters would have acted and reacted to each other completely differently.
I like the circumstance, but I also think that establishing a quick recognition of the advantages that we offered each other from all of the
Cool. Yeah,
challenges,
totally.
trauma, difficulties, and journey, because I feel like both of these characters are at somewhat pivotal part of their lives, and there is clearly mutual elements of each other that they are both seeking in themselves.
Sure.
And maybe they've never even talked about it, but they've just both gone, oh, you'll do. This kind of works.
Yeah. So we're accompanying each other for the sake of companionship.
Yeah, and it works, so they've just continued to. Maybe they went, oh yeah, let's just travel to this next town, and then, oh, where are you going next? I don't know. Shall we go here? Okay, I've got nothing else to do. How long have they been doing that though, Ferg?
So there's questions. If you look at, so there's what
There are
unexpected
questions.
situation brought your characters together. How often did you see each other afterwards, and what activity did you begin doing together?
Ah, lovely.
Maybe they, maybe it was one of those things that they were somewhere and something completely unrelated but presented risk happened, and they ended up just teaming up through circumstance and went, oh, you're pretty good at that. So they faced some challenge together and overcame it.
I mean, how much detail do we want to go into this event? Do we want to get
So
very explicit here?
You can. We're now entering the point where we're going to start
Okay.
fleshing it out, and then once we've established the 3 relationships, I'm going to ask you to, without going into a long monologue, start filling in some of the blanks and make some decisions about some names and some situations and some specifics for the audience, because I, like them, have been, super curious as to potentially where this stuff could go, and I didn't want to necessarily force you guys to decide anything. And now we're at a point where I just want to know.
Let's go.
So,
We were
Also,
we were
I'd
at a
say, sorry,
small-
Ferg, just before you go.
Yeah, go. No, you go.
If
Go for it.
anyone in the chat wants to just fire a question that they think would help this process as well, go for your
Oh,
own.
yes, please.
But that we can
Yeah.
both answer spontaneously.
Yeah.
Because like the unexpected situation, the major event, the first thing I would ask Ferg's character, for instance, or Ferg about his character is, was that at the event that caused my character to finally exit that life, that chapter of life that we've been describing? Or did that already happen?
Well, this poses an interesting question. Where would my character be where your character is, in which that exit could happen?
That pilgrimage.
So we now need
thing.
to root it on where would your character be at that point, and can my character insert there?
I like the idea that your character helped my character affect the escape.
Okay. So, you caught my character stealing from someone, and you realized that I could help you steal something you needed to escape.
Yeah, maybe it was like you know how I'm not saying it's this, so do not read into this, Jacob. But you know, sometimes you'll meet people in the D&D campaign and they'll go, yeah, you can do this work for us, but we want some of your blood, just as a precaution. And so my character needs to exit. I'm not saying it's blood, Jacob, but my character needs to exit. But there is something that is that unless it's in his possession, he will never be able to fully escape.
His monocle. His monocle is being held hostage, and he can't leave without it.
And it's psychological monocle. It doesn't even stop him, but
it doesn't do anything. But he's like, I can't leave that monocle behind. And so you've actually asked me to get it for you, and I've said, sure, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna need someone to help cover my escape because these guys they're gonna catch me if we don't get out together and like help each other out. And so now it's not just a selfless act. Now there's an exchange here for my character. Maybe your character has some information that my character wants.
Yeah, because your character isn't altruistic enough to just go,
I'll
help you. Like, there would
but if your character has something I need, information or a location, or you're like, look, I've got this awesome item that you can just have, but it's all the way back at my home.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Please.
Is there the potential, there's the capacity that the means of this can actually be almost a guise for you, for your own agenda, to also either be in a situation or have access to something that is self-serving without necessarily letting it on, but it will also, you know, it's otherwise a situation that you wouldn't find yourself in.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting. I think it's cool it would be an interesting idea to have my character doing something selfless and then realizing, hey, hang on, that was a good deed. I need to get something out of this.
Could it be that your character is actually against or at risk from whatever it is the community of my character is going to this place to do? So you feel that you need to prevent it or stop it or interrupt it, but you've tried and you've never been able to do it, and my character is a key to unlocking you being able to prevent this thing, but in return you need to help me escape from it.
Your community is a community that doesn't mind shipping off the tributed and sold orphan acolyte children
that we won in the horse races. Yeah.
You won in horse racing or whatever. And my character really doesn't want that to keep happening because he's vengeful and he's trying to hide the fact that he actually wants to help people, but so he's disguising it as vengeance. And so he ropes your character into helping him, and your character's like, well, I need to get that monocle to escape, so I'll help you if you get me that monocle so that I can get out. And now it's kind of like a union out of circumstantial assistance and mutual benefit, rather than we both get along and we're good buds.
Maybe it's like a conscription thing, rather than like a people trafficking thing.
And my character should have been listed into that, but somehow broke out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe they've been traveling alongside your community for a while because they were sold into that.
Or maybe you'd completed your tenure. You had been conscripted, but now you've reached the end of it and you're like, that was bullshit. I need to stop this happening to anyone else.
Can we pause that one?
Yes.
Because I think as we start doing the other two relationships, more discovery and more details might become really apparent through discovery.
Yeah.
Sure.
So who would like to choose one for the other person first? And if you want to, can you just roll some dice until you get a d20? Show up as a 20.
Sure.
Just roll. You're just going to speed 20.
18. You got to call it, Ferg. 16.
Oh, Christ. 1. 8. All right, he gets it.
19. I got an 18.
He got a 1.
I got a 1. It's yours, Chris.
I got 2 19s in a row. Okay, what column am I choosing from, Jacob?
You get to choose. You get to choose whether for Fergus and this unifying other third person, was their relationship from an event, same task, or were they familiar faces?
I think that they were familiar faces. What small journey or errand did you complete together with this person, Fergus?
Me and this person that we know together.
Yeah.
I think that I think that he was
I love Hammy, but
a senior member in your community who had me doing a job to retrieve to be the miner's canary in a retrieval job, and you knew that person who was in charge of.
Don't worry about Chris's character's relationship with that person.
Yeah, no, you knew that person, and they were in your community, and they sent me into this cave or tunnel or whatever to say, go see if there's any kobolds or goblins in there, and if you come out alive, then hey, then there weren't, and good job, you did a great work.
So was this a task, or were they familiar faces?
This is a familiar face because this person who sent me in to do this is someone that Chris knows.
Maybe you did regularly did stuff for this person.
Yes, because consistently. Yes.
Yeah. Part of the question is, where did you regularly see each other before speaking? The idea is that actually it wasn't ever something that started off. You just were exposed to each other under a situation, and the idea is to indirectly imply a common ground.
Okay, I have
outside of task or event.
I have a little brainwave around this then. So I was saying that external inciting thing that showed my character that it isn't actually all like you believe it's been. I wonder whether this person is the person that failed to do that thing, or did something that was completely out of left field, but I don't resent that person for it. They're the one that showed me that I was indoctrinated, but they were like, come on, dude, there's a real world out here.
It's Donald Duck taking off the hat at Disneyland behind the ride, smoking.
Yeah.
And you come around, you're like...
Yeah.
And they're like,
Donald.
Sorry, kid.
Sorry, kid. Donald's on break.
Yeah. And so now that it's been uncovered, and I don't know, actually, here's a question for them. Did this person deliberately show my character that, or did they do it by accident and then just had to make an omelette with the broken eggs? Yeah, did they deliberately pull the wool from my eyes?
I think they deliberately did it, and I don't think they did it because they cared about you.
Nice.
I think they did it because they wanted to try and make you upset, or
there's just some other motivation for it.
Yeah, or jaded or whatever, but it wasn't to try and help you.
Cool. What do I
believe? It was the same character that regularly got me to do errands for them.
What do I believe? Do I believe that they did it by accident, or that they did it deliberately?
You believe that every single person in this community must have been doing everything selflessly, so they must have been doing it for a good cause for you, because it must have been selfless.
Yeah, because I want to retain some of that childlike naivety.
Yeah, so you have to feel like, no, they're all good people. He wouldn't do this if it was a bad thing.
Yeah.
He wants to help me.
He's a good sort.
Yeah.
We need to get the relationship with this character for both of you to such a significance that at the start of the campaign, they are going to have been missing for a number of days, and both of you feel compelled to first check with each other to see if you know where they are, and then having found out where they are, feel like you're going to try and find them.
All right, hang on, Ferg. I've got something.
Okay, go.
So you're delivering frequent services to this person, right?
Yes.
I feel like my character is also delivering frequent services, but they are a complete juxtaposition. You're delivering frequent services to this person that are extracurricular to everything I believe. So he's got his hands in a lot of pies, and you're helping him on his nefarious hidden activities. I'm helping him from a devout community thing because he is
Sure.
somewhat senior, and so we both have respect for him because we are both see him as an opportunity for elevation or whatever. But there's a complete difference in how we engage with this person, yet he is similarly important to both of us.
Okay, can I suggest, because of my character's resentment to authority, instead of him admiring and liking this person for bringing him into nefarious deeds, there is some type of contract or magical connection that is forcing him to remain loyal to him even at his own resentment, and if something bad were to happen to this character, it would actually affect
That's
him.
so good.
So he has to save him.
So
not out of
you
want,
must
but out of
save him.
survival.
Yeah,
it is
you
survival
must
at
save
this
him,
point.
but I want to save him.
Yes. And so even the idea of this person disgusts me because he's in charge of me. But I have to save him because he's in charge of me.
And I want to save him because he's
You
in
want to
charge
save
of
him
me.
because he's in charge of you.
No,
he's the person in charge.
I want to save him because he has unveiled an opportunity
Yes.
for growth.
Cool.
What's his name? Did we get names?
We got a couple of names.
Antonia Stromagov is a strong one.
Antonia Stromagov is a wonderful one.
I don't know if the Vigil's cool name is still in the chat.
The Vigils, are you still here? Let's take a look-see. The Vigils is still around. Yeah, man.
Is it Antonia Stromagov?
Do we have Antonius? Is that it? The only other two suggestions were from Jacob and Chris themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I think,
Yeah.
and to be fair, I do love Antonia Stromagov.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful name.
Wicked. Antonius.
Now, with this in mind, Jacob, now knowing that my character has some type of binding connection to some other person,
Yeah.
Yes, Fergus.
is he now does this now touch into warlock territory rather than rogue? Or do we not need to?
It doesn't have to be.
Do we
it
need
doesn't
to
have
apply a
be-
mechanical connection here?
It can be a thing that is only so much. Like it could be just something that is a MacGuffin. That
Yeah,
could be a. Hey, as long as this exists and it's in someone else's possession, they can always find you.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
if
Cool.
if they're in close proximity, they can command you to do certain things,
Great.
or some form of.
The details aren't important, but it doesn't have to be cooked into the mechanical side of my characters. Yeah. Ace. Gotcha. Cool.
And that way, it's also the thing as well. Whatever the MacGuffin is of equal importance, because there is whether it is. It's Antonio. That's the. That's the name.
Antonius.
Antonius. So Antonius is just the person that you know to have been in the most recent possession of
Yeah.
the MacGuffin.
I know Jacob's brain too well. It was dangerous.
And
No,
he
I
took
love
that
this. This is
personally.
wonderful. I love this. I'm so excited for where this goes already.
Okay,
can't wait.
so
I cannot wait.
if we went back to that original slide, how much do you know about your characters? And are there things that you haven't talked through that you would like to share or fill in some more details without having to decide and write a whole backstory, but at least to flesh up the unspoken things, to give colour or context to a bunch of different things. So for all of the wonderful people that have been following along, they are able to see sort of a bit of a flourished outcome of the last 3 hours.
I think that
Yep.
one thing, just looking back at those first answers and what we've discussed, is his community and family. What are the consequences there of abandoning that? And I don't think, as I think I've already said, that I don't think there's any risk or fear of it, but there is risk and fear that they would do everything they can to persuade him not to do that, and he's worried that he's so teetering on the edge that he would just go, oh no, you're right, I should stay.
Yeah.
But so he's aware that it would be a painful, clean break, and that would be that. He would never go back, and he would have to be completely abandoned from them forever.
Is that the only avenue?
Well, the question, yes, I think yes, but the question I would then ask either of you two is how much effort would they put in, and what are their resources to try and get him back? Does he have to look over his shoulder? And how long for if he does?
I think...
Stop smirking, Jacob.
No, I think that... Is there an interesting through line here that this community is at risk, or is it at risk of endangerment or of dwindling, and every single person matters? And losing another person would actually cost them so much.
Yeah, so
that's why they keep buying tributary children.
Yeah, it had occurred to me that their influence or area or whatever had been slowly eroding. And
if you leave as well, that's another person that they can't really afford to lose.
Yeah, because I think
I would almost challenge you to lean into that and then actually go, under what circumstance is there a community that does that?
Cult. It was
always
a cult.
What's the purpose? Like what's their mission?
I think they're preserving something, but I don't think that thing exists, or I don't think that thing is paying them back or delivering the value that they think it is. Which is, I want it to be
you said that
alive.
they're a slightly druidic-ish order.
Yeah, I want it to be
I think
alive.
they think they're upholding some natural thing, an essence or an area like a friggin' natural park.
Yeah.
That they're like, we need to keep this safe from all outside forces, and maybe it's bullshit, but they don't know it is. Or maybe it is, but it's actually inconsequential and they are supposed to fail.
I think that I really like that, but I think maybe apart from a select few, the preservation of it is almost cultish and almost religious, right? It's a calling to preserve it. But I actually think what the reality of it is that it's valuable. Think of it like it's a gold mine and it's being eroded because all of these other people are like, there's a gold mine there, that's awesome. And they're like, no, this is a sacred site, but it actually isn't.
You can't go into the gold mine.
Yeah,
that's where the breath of the gods dwells.
Yeah.
And in reality, they want to buy children to dig gold.
And I think that's the wool being removed from his eyes.
Yeah.
That he's like,
that there's no god's breath there.
Mine.
It's gold dust.
Yeah, no, it's a quartz mine because that's what they make the monocles with.
Which is like, if they're mining metals is the most anti-druidic thing, like it's actually like a...
This is a crime.
Yeah,
it's big oil, man. Okay, I've thrown up a map there. How at what fidelity can you see this?
I can see it beautifully.
Fairly well if I need to. Yes, there we go. It makes me look very dark, but I can see it.
Okay. So there's a range of forests, there's a range of locations and stuff, and it doesn't have to be the named one of those, but just for the sake of sharing it, I want to start making some specific decisions and us heading towards actually going, okay, yeah, let's start nailing down what we can. Where in this place pulls you in or gravitates?
It's got to be foresty, right, Ferg?
Yeah, but I don't think it can be near a massive city because that would be too... I think it has to be somewhere really...
Do you see that little dot where it's got... Is it Torrinstone Shrine? It's a little white dot in the middle of the forest.
Oh, yep, I do.
There.
And there's a temple right underneath it on a mountain.
How convenient.
I think it's the Torrinstone Shrine, and they have been dealing with this temple who take acolyte children from nearby towns and villages, and they're like, you're going to go serve this god, and instead they sell some of them to the druids nearby.
Amazing.
Official NPC says, on top of a mountain. Sounds like somewhere a ram would be.
Oh, jeez, Hammy's just
old-
never going to leave us alone.
Old Rammy
He's
the
gonna
ham.
Now jumping over to your situation, your character situation, Fergus.
Yes.
You need to be in some proximity to this, I understand.
Yeah.
Where are you? Where are you from? Where are you residing that puts you in proximity to this? How are you in relation to it?
I think my character is originally born in Plymouth.
Cool.
Not New Plymouth, just Plymouth. The old Plymouth. But then, like stated earlier, as a child was chosen to go join the temple as a great honor and was so ecstatic about it and went to go serve in the, what does that say? The Hugeman temple next to it?
Human.
There's a temple on a mountain. What is that?
Human.
Human
Is it actually human temple? I think he got chosen to go serve at the human temple.
Cool.
For years, it was a wonderful, great honor, and he learned so many wonderful things. And he was so mischievous and messed with the temple elders and still learned a couple of old prayers that somehow spark magic, and he doesn't know how or really why, but he hasn't questioned it, because that's just what they do sometimes. It's just words of power. There's no faith behind it. And then he got chosen for a great calling by the temple elder one day, and it was to go serve the druids in the forest. And he was never allowed to come back. It was indentured servitude.
Did he eventually either escape, or did he fulfill his contract, or he'd gone beyond his use, like he was no longer of use?
I think he wanted to escape, and your character also wanted to escape, and so they were like, fine, we can escape together if we help each other out.
Right, so
but
he's
we need
working,
each other to help each other.
So his services for this mutual character are as an agent of this outfit.
No.
So he's still working for them?
Can I potentially throw in an alternative?
Yeah.
Is there the capacity that this agent has redeeming qualities?
Yeah, totally.
Is there something that against this group, that this individual, whether they still hold something over you, is doing something that, because we've identified they're a bit of a black sheep amongst this community.
Yep.
Maybe he's helping them smuggle kids out, and you
Cool.
were one of the smuggled initially, but you have this debt because you got smuggled out, and you feel like you have to repay this debt. There's red in your ledger, like Hawkeye.
Yep. Potentially, but I think that then, are we then going away from the idea of a forced connection, rather than, I think there are absolutely redeeming qualities of this person. I don't think he's all bad, but he absolutely takes advantage of the system that he is in.
Maybe it's a debt of bargain, though. Maybe it's a promise debt. Like, you got smuggled out, and so to repay it, you have to deliver these services, but you are bound to deliver these services. You can't just... You're not doing it out of the goodness of your heart. You are trapped to do this until you have paid this debt.
I mean, it's also potentially just expanding on trying to align what you guys have already decided. The getting out is not a condition of freedom. It is out, but there is still tethers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To continue and maintain and
For
provide.
both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And what I like about that as well, they're complete opposites, but there are so many mutual circumstances. But they're completely mutual, but on different sides of the fence.
Yeah. I think, Chris, it's really fascinating that your character feels like he still has to do these services because it's the right thing to do and he wants to be grateful for it and show gratitude. And my character has to do these services because he's literally bound to doing these services, even if he didn't want to. He has to. He doesn't have a choice.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I think this unifying character is someone who is involved in this druidic foresty community, but is happily buying kids from the temple because it benefits. And maybe he actually feels like it's serving a greater good somehow.
So
I don't know what that greater good is.
Yeah,
but there's like this is a good thing.
aspects.
Like, yes, I'm buying children from a temple, but it's for a good cause.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, when it comes to your characters, is there anything or any part that hasn't been touched on, explored, that you would like to expand on? Or are you at a point where you feel like you, one, know enough about them, feel like they're still within the realm of aligning to the things that you want to have a good playing experience?
Uh,
I want to go and write a book about them.
I'm happy to write up a backstory with a couple of notes and things to give to you, Jacob, to say, here's some open-ended threads that I don't need an answer for because they're for you.
Maybe what we could do is we could write and agree on what we mutually know first, and then we both write our own stuff off of the back of agreeing those things that we know.
Totally.
And then we just give the whole thing to Jacob.
Yeah.
Would love it. Is there also the potential that we could, realistically, before, because we're wanting to play these characters in 2 weeks?
Yep. Easily.
Is there, before we start that process in 2 weeks' time, have a condensed version of those agreed on and a little bit of the insights and the stuff that we've talked about? Chuck them in, whether it's in Discord or I don't know the best place to share it, but that way, if people want to follow up and read the stuff.
Knowing Chris and I, will probably have these done by like Sunday.
Yeah, we will. But what I was thinking as well is we could even do, and we'll have a chat about it for everyone in chat, but we'll have a chat about maybe doing a short stream where we just present them. And maybe we'll have some character sheets knocked together and we can talk through them, we can read a bit about their backstory, and fill in blanks or correct little inconsistencies. So maybe we have like a stream at some stage. I don't know. It will be a night and it will be around the same time as this one's been.
That's so cool. Awesome. I just want to...
No, you go. Go.
No, I was just going to thank you guys for the patience and going through it and trusting the process. And I'm interested to also see how these come to the table as well. So very, very excited. Yeah.
I think what I would like to say is thank you very much for guiding us through this. It's such a novel way to approach putting a character together, and I think that we've baked in a lot of depth. And what we will try to do, because this is all very new to us, as you guys have probably guessed, but what we'll try to do is maybe certainly formalise the material into a bit of a document. We've got a Discord, and so jump in the Discord. We'll pop it in there. You guys can have a go at it. What we'd love the most, I think, is for anyone who's willing to go through this with their own groups or their friends and come up with some characters and tell us about their characters and tell us how the process went. We'd love nothing more than that. And obviously, then you'll be able to find out when we're actually going to play these characters, and you can see whether it is actually Ram or not. And I'm on the fence. But I already feel like I owe official NPC a Ram. And I don't know how I feel about that.
What's really exciting about this whole process is that earlier today I ran through it for a character who's already pre-existing, who I've played and know very, very well for the last 2 years, and I found myself gaining and reinforcing insights and ideas and perspectives on this character because of my ability to go through and answer these questions. And so even if it's as a reflection tool rather than a creation tool, being able to reflect on this character and their ideals and behaviors helped me understand and reinforce their behaviors way more than I would be able to if I just showed up once a week and tumbled my way through a 3.5, 4 hour D&D session.
Yeah, like a mid-campaign character consolidation process.
Yeah, and it was a really, really good time. So I'd encourage anyone, even if it's just to do it over a character that you already have and you care about, to go through and give it a try.
All I can see is Hammy the Ram in chat.
Having the ramps going everywhere.
And the other one is if you ever get a character that does end up feeling a little bit stale, don't be afraid to just try and change some decisions or things. Limitations, identify the things that you find limiting about them.
Yeah.
And also, my biggest personal one is try and play a range of classes if you've got the opportunity to. And I know most people just love more D&D and get the opportunity to try and play and see and watch more things. But I think once you have an idea of the types of characters, and I mean that both with how they're at the table and the classes, you're going to have more fun. I know that there is, for me, 3 classes that I really love playing. There's 3 classes I detest playing, just because I don't like who I have to be in order to play them. It's too much admin. And it's funny considering that I'm probably more of a forever DM. But you just got to do what's right for you and what's going to make you have fun.
Well said. Here. D&D's awesome. D&D was awesome. We'd love to see you in Discord. As you can see, we all love nerding out over D&D. So talk about your characters. We love to dissect and help with backstories and ideas. So we look forward to hopefully seeing as many of you as possible in the chat again. Anything else, gentlemen?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
First stream.
The raid.
Congrats.
Amazing. First stream. Well done, everyone. Cheers. I don't have anything to cheers with around me, but cheers. To the 29 people who raided, thank you so much. Sparkles, Mandy, that was a blessing and a half. We are so grateful to everyone else who came with Stormy's Tavern and their crew. Thank you so much to friends, family. Thank you all so much for tuning in.
I know we've gone dark, but Official NPC has just very quite rightly said, send us to Discord. So I'm just trying to get a linky thing. I don't know how to invite.
Yeah, it's been an amazing time, guys. Thank you all so much for everything.
Cool. Okay, here we are. I'm going to put it in the chat. Join us on Discord.
We're still here, don't worry.
Bosh. There. I think I did it right on Twitch. If you scroll down, our links is the Discord as well. But we'll learn about all of that together, right? Yay.
We'll get it all going. This is our first time. Don't even worry about it.
Cool. Thank you, everybody, so much. That was a blast. And we'll see you soon. And I'll try and raid someone. I'm going to put our thank you screen on. I'll faff around a bit. I'll see if we can raid someone.
We'll find someone. Listen. It's work in progress.
Yeah. All right. See you guys. Bye.
Thanks so much, everyone.